And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the playoffs for the Primetime Racing League Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series. Tonight it is the season finale, or should I say finales, as we get ready for our doubleheader once again, third straight week in a row here, Final Four to compete for the championship at Daytona and Primetime Super Speedway. A little bit later start here tonight. There is a good reason for it, and we'll document it here in just a moment. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Jack Mitchell, and Jack, we've been treated to some very interesting finishes here in these first four races of the playoffs. We've seen eliminations. We've seen drivers be able to move on, just barely get themselves above that cut line. Now here tonight, only 4 drivers in the field during the span of these two races, and we've got 25 drivers taking the green. That's a lot of points that you can gain or lose in both the events.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it, typically during a Final Four like this, you would have one race be the end-all be-all. Whoever finishes first wins the championship, but we got to keep in the back of our minds that there are 2 races here in the finale tonight, so win in the first race, it'll help you out a lot, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to be walking out with the championship after we're all said and done.
Now, we mentioned about the fact we did start a little bit late. Unfortunately, of our Final Four competitors, only 3 are going to be able to run for the championship here tonight. They pushed practice back as far as they could. They extended qualifying as far as they could for Ken Roberts, who we've seen go to victory lane not once, but twice, back-to-back here at Daytona in our 2 previous nights here on Saturday evening. Weather has hit his area, it's knocked out his internet, and he unfortunately will not be able to at least take the green here for Daytona. You and I were talking about this, though, before we came on the air here, Jack. You said that a win at Daytona, since we don't have a win-and-you're-in system here with the playoffs, it's combined this race and the next race. A win here at Daytona could potentially, though, garner you enough points to be able to win the title, regardless of what happens, maybe dependent on where you finish at Primetime. But I would counter-argue that missing Daytona almost effectively even takes you out of the hunt for the championship, even if you won at Primetime in the next event.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really hard to make up the points deficit if you miss the race completely and you don't get any points or scoring in your favor at all. So, tough break for him, but the show goes on. We're going to have 3 drivers that are going to battle for this championship here. So, it was really exciting. We had a photo finish at Primetime to cap off our doubleheader last Saturday. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this wraps up and who our champion is going to be.
Absolutely. The 3 drivers that we'll be keeping an eye on during the course of tonight's race are going to be the 8 of Greg Lovell, the 00 of Buckshot Kelly Causey, and the 41 of Denny Carroll. Those are the 3 drivers that were able to move into the Final Four along with the aforementioned Ken Roberts. Kelly Causey's got some good numbers here at Daytona. He ended up finishing 3rd in the first playoff race, and I believe he also finished top 5 in the Daytona race here last week. So we'll see if he can rely on that Daytona luck here tonight, maybe set the tone. Denny Carroll coming off back-to-back top 10s, had a top 5 run actually back last week at Primetime Super Speedway, and it was the battle of the levels. Greg was able to best brother Brian in order to be able to get the final spot. He, of course, when we go to Primetime Super Speedway, we'll be talking about the fact that he formally won a race there back in playoff race number 2. So we'll see what happens here. Again, though, they are only 3 of 25 drivers that are taking the green flag here tonight, which means 22 other drivers. Their goal is to just go out there, win this race, win the following race at Primetime Super Speedway, and end the season out on a high note. As Nate Balser going to get himself the pole position, a flyer lap time, 2 100ths faster than the rest of the competition, clocking in at a 49.445. He'll have playoff driver Greg Lovell to his outside, so he'll be the highest starter of the 3 championship competitors. Rodney Sullins is going to share row number 2 with the next highest starting of the playoff drivers, that being Denny Carroll in 4th, and Kelly Causey, The third and final of the championship competitors will be inside the top 5 in 5th place. So they're all going to start around each other, as Randy Waugh will line up on the outside of row 3. Graham McDonald, who was involved in that photo finish you referred to there, Jack, last week at Primetime Super Speedway, looking for that one spot better, as he'll share row number 4 with Gary Heiser. Brian Lovell and Craig Hagley will complete the top 10. Greg Palmer and Dan Lovell, they're going to make up row number 6. Tim Anderson and Dennis McCarthy, row 7. Row 8 is going to find Garland Oaks and Keith Bynum. They were the last drivers to take time. The rest of the drivers set according to random qualifying draws. That puts Mike Mangialardi and Mark Paglia back in row 9. And the top 20 will be completed by Brian Rawson and Pat McCarskey. 21st place starting will be Robert Breedlove, Robert Spring in 22nd, Billy Elliser 23rd, Andrew Miller makes his first start on the season in 24th, and John Godfrey will cap off the 25-car field here tonight. First of 2 events, 40 laps here at the World Center of Racing. So good starting track position for all 3 of our championship hopefuls here. Super Speedway's not the easiest place to maintain the track position, so it'll be interesting to see, who these drivers are able to find to work with, what kind of alliances they've been able to make during the course of this week. Kind of almost have to don the diplomat suit here and try and find as many people as you can, not only to work with you on the racetrack, but maybe to come to pit road with you as well, as we're going to have at least 2 pit stops during the course of this 40-lap event.
Yeah, like we say it all the time at a track like Daytona, but you really want to pace yourself if you're in the final 4 here, or I guess final 3. Just kind of take it easy. Realize that the race isn't going to be won in 1 lap, at least not the first lap, but here we go.
Final 2 races of the playoffs. Daytona gonna set the tone, set the table if you will. We're Green Flag Racing, Nate Balser, great launch. Rodney Sullivan's right there with him. Easily gonna have the 79 out in clean air, have him stacked up 2nd place on back. There are a couple of cars that we do not have here that you're going to see showing up as generics. That aqua tealish green number 22 back there, 5th on the inside line. That's Greg Palmer. 6th on the outside line. Make that 7th on the outside line is the 388 of Dan Lovell. Try and keep track of those 2 cars during the course of this race, as they will be hard to distinguish apart from each other, aside from the number on the doors and on the roof, as Rodney Sullins saw him jump up there to the outside line, got a good push from Greg Lovell, and he will go to the point.
2 of our championship 3. It's going to be hard to, I'm used to saying final 4. It rolls off the tongue a lot easier than final 3, but 2 of them already inside the top 3 of this race, and now one's going to go to the bottom of the racetrack.
Greg Lovell tried to make a move there on Rodney Sullins, and he's going to get left out. Drops back to Nate Balser. Denny Carroll will now go to his outside, and that's kind of the thing here. More than likely for certain, the other drivers that have those neon green spoilers, splitters, rear driver banners, wherever you go, they're probably going to go the opposite. They're not working with you here tonight. Other nights, probably. Since you're fast and they're fast, it's a good combination, but since you're all going for that same trophy, nah, I'm going to go where you're not. I'm going to try and get past you and build as much space as I can between you and me.
I feel like those decisions... Oh, goodness!
Craig Hagley down into Randy Waugh, catches air, and this is going to be a massive wreck into the entry of the corner.
And Greg Lovell was involved in that.
You see him right there, forefront of the screen.
Think he's going to be all right.
Kelly Causey right there, also bottom of the screen. Now over on the right was collected. So 2 of our championship competitors.
Definitely a wrench thrown into the early portion of this race.
Doesn't look like much damage on the Jif Wonderbread Chevrolet. As you said, it doesn't really look like much damage also sustained there for Greg Lovell. Left side looks good. Right side, yeah, right side looks good as well. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what happened there. There was a lot of movement in the middle of the pack, and I'm not sure if it was a bump gone wrong or maybe the dreaded bumper grab that came into play, but that was a wreck into the entry of the corner, which is one of the toughest areas to be able to figure out how to maneuver your way through without making contact, because drivers that spin to the bottom can ride right back up the banking into the entry of the corner, and vice versa. Drivers up on the top side can slide down the banking in front of you. Let's take a look at how this started. Try and see if we can focus on the 82 of Craig Hagley, because he was the first driver I saw out of shape. Yeah, looks like bumper grab there.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of jostling for position on that top line, but it looked like the way he spun, that was bumper grab.
It's got some back end damage. We saw the back end of the car go up into the air. For the most part, drivers involved and even back there trying to woe up for the incident, it doesn't look like there's any major damage on anybody, maybe outside of the 82. Let's watch this from the chopper cam and take a look as when the 41 of Denny Carroll moves up in front of Rodney Sullins. It's almost like the outside line can't get themselves organized here. You're going to see right there, Heiser gives a little bit of an uneven bump to Rodney Sullins. That moves him up the track, and then as he comes down to get in line behind the 38, he bumper grabs off the front of the 82.
Everybody just kind of got out of shape when the leader moved up to the high side of the racetrack. I don't know if I would necessarily call that panic, but definitely the kind of a reaction there that was triggered by the 41 car going up to the high side.
Kelly Causey was right behind this. Let's go on board with the 00 and see if we can diagnose how much, if any, damage he might have sustained. Gets clipped in the left rear quarter panel. Might actually not get hit by anyone. Oh!
Oh!
Didn't see him go up there and get the outside wall with the front end of his car. That might be a little worrying.
Yeah, that was a bit of a brutal hit to the outside wall, especially at the speed that he was moving. It looked like maybe he was going to be able to slow it down in time, but then when he was going back up the racetrack and didn't really lose that much speed before he hit the wall, so that's a tough break.
It's right on board with the 82 of Craig Hagley. Give you an idea of what we're talking about with bumper grab. Watch as the 3 kind of moves from right to left. It's Garland Oaks right there, the Dr. Pepper Toyota.
It's the unfortunate nature of a track like Daytona, too, because that one little slip-up really set back a lot of drivers in the field. Everybody racing so tightly together, that sort of thing can happen very frequently.
We talk about, in comparison to Primetime Superspeedway that we're going to for the final race of the night, the difference in the amount of space available to race. You can go 3 wide here, but it is a much narrower 3 wide, especially when you make your way through the tri-oval than it would be at the track we'll be going to here afterwards, the modified Talladega, if you will. I mean, there's really only 3 lanes here. There's about 4 lanes that you can use at Talladega, so a lot more space for 3 wide action. So our first caution of the night here. Looks like everybody involved is continuing and is still on the lead lap, so we'll have to wait, obviously, on the upcoming restart for these drivers to get up to speed, be able to diagnose if there is going to be anybody off the pace. Denny Carroll was able to actually win the battle off of pit road, as it looks like Robert Breedlove was the only driver who did not pit and will be the race leader. Denny Carroll will start second, with Nate Balser, Rodney Sullins, and Graham McDonald, the top 5. Greg Lovell, who we saw get a piece of that incident, looks like I don't know if they even took tires on that race car, as he was able to come off of pit road in the 6th position. So despite getting involved in that wreck, he didn't lose a whole lot of track position there, as we got Denny Carroll going to inherit the race lead, and a number of drivers, including Breedlove, Sullins, and others, going to come down, top off the fuel tank. Interesting here. Got to wonder if this puts them right on the window to do something a little bit different fuel-wise, should we go green to the end.
An early strategy play, and I think I just saw the 00 head down pit road as well, Kelly Causey. So strategy play being brought into effect here, only 7 laps into the race, although it looks like it's just gas and go for everybody.
So that gives the race lead to Denny Carroll, and why that is important? Well, Denny Carroll, as a playoff driver, that's a valuable lap-led bonus point that would obviously be calculated into the overall playoff standings here for the Final Four. So maybe a little bit of pressure put on Greg Lovell and Kelly Causey to get up here and lead a lap as well, negate that bonus point that Denny Carroll has. Now, having that 1 point in the bank, if you're Denny Carroll, you're probably now looking to stay up at the front as long as you can, get the bonus point for the most laps led as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have to sort of find the balance if you're one of these championship 3 drivers, because while you obviously, I think that there is some fairness to maybe playing the strategy of maybe staying a bit near the back, trying to be safe in case another incident like that does happen. But at the same time, those lap-led bonus points, every single point matters, especially in a championship battle. So you really want to be able to try and lead laps if you can, if you're at the front. So it really just comes down to finding the right balance.
Lights out on the pace car. We're doubled up, ready to go back green here. Lap 7 will be complete. Lap 8 will go up on the board. According to live points, Denny Carroll would currently be the championship leader, but not by much. 3 positions and that bonus point in hand over Greg Lovell. So 4 point separation. All 3 drivers, Lovell, Carroll, and Causey, came into this race tied. And Denny going to get us back green with pole sitter Nate Balser to his outside. Good launch there for Denny Carroll. Maybe a little too good, unless he's planning on tucking up in front of the 79, which indeed that appears to be the case. He'll run the middle line here through 1 and 2, which opens up the door down low. Here comes last week's winner from Primetime Superspeedway, Graham McDonald, with a big push from the Pontiac. I believe that's a Pontiac Grand Prix of Brian Lovell.
They're going to go low to block that move, though. That's the advantage of running the middle of the racetrack, is if anybody gets a run on either side of you, you can, if you react in time, you can make a move to the top of the bottom of the racetrack and block that line.
We'll see if Denny stays on that inside line. If the second lane starts to build some momentum there, they're pretty well organized. Nate Balser, Greg Lovell, Keith Bynum back there, Pat McCarskey. Bynum actually gave a little bit of space right there between himself and the 8. Might be trying to generate a run and maybe go 3 wide. We'll see if that's the case here down the back straightaway. Yeah, I think that's exactly what he was going to do, and those 2 cars on the outside saw it, moved up to block that run. Brian Lovell now into 3rd. Mike Mangialardi battling for 4th with Nate Balser. Number of drivers still looking for their first win on the season. Big opportunity to do so here tonight. No championship hanging in the balance for all but 3 drivers, so that gives you a little bit of luxury, a little bit more freedom to be aggressive with your strategy, aggressive with your moves. Try and get up there, be in the conversation in the closing stages to nab yourself a checkered flag. And that's one of the interesting things here as well, because we've ended up having, in 3 of the 4 playoff races so far, a playoff driver has gone to victory lane. Greg Lovell at Primetime and back-to-back weeks here at Daytona with Ken Roberts. You don't have to win the race to win the championship. You just got to finish consistently, maybe even just top 5, top 10 in between of these 2 races, which makes me think that if it comes down to it at the end of the race and we have a playoff driver leading and there's, say, 2, 3, 4 non-playoff drivers behind, they're going to do everything they can to leave that playoff driver out to dry, because they're realizing, hey, his goal's entirely different from ours. He doesn't need the checkered flag to win the championship. We need a checkered flag to cap off our season.
At the same time, though, the playoff drivers are probably thinking a little bit differently. Maybe they feel as though they do need a checkered flag. That would certainly give you a little bit of extra security. Obviously, it's not a win and you're guaranteed the title, but if you can win this first race, that's going to give you so much confidence going into prime time.
I just want to double... Oh, trouble!
Oh, boy.
Mark Pagley up and over.
That's at the way back of the field.
Gary Heiser, Dennis McCarthy, Billy Elliser looks like he was in it as well. It's a big hit into that Armco barrier for McCarthy, the back end of his machine. I think Robert Breedlove, I don't know if he was involved or if he was able to slow in time with the wreck happening in front of him, but field is frozen. They'll make their way back, and Nate Balser had actually just made his way around Denny Carroll for the top position. The 8 just got the wall there off of 4.
Ooh.
Not sure what happened there. Looked like just a brush. There's the lingering smoke there going into turn 1.
Back during that first caution, the 8 car, I think, rushed the wall a little bit before he had his big hit with the outside wall, so might be worth keeping an eye on a little bit.
Let's try and figure out what exactly happens here. We'll focus on the 28 of Mark Paglia, but it might be something that happens up ahead of him.
I'm looking at the 24.
Oh, yep. McCarthy pushes up into Heiser. As Heiser comes off the wall, he bumper grabs Robert Breedlove, and then that sends him down into Mark Paglia and Billy Elliser. And that car went for a wild, wild ride. Did Paglia's little breakdance there on the front straightaway. Here's another look at it. Just nowhere to go. You're an innocent bystander.
Yeah, that's just one of those tough wrecks at Daytona. We talk about it all the time. There's not a whole lot of space on the racetrack, so if something like that happens right in front of you, there's really nothing you can do.
And this wreck between the 024 and the 3 actually continues down off the exit of the tri-oval as well, down towards turn 1. There's the first contact. There's the second contact. And there's the third contact. Brian Rosson was able to kind of muscle his way through there in that Valvoline Chevrolet. So that's going to bring out the second caution of the evening here at Daytona. Everybody on pit road again, it looks like.
I could have just been seeing things, but I think maybe there might have been a little bit of contact on pit road, but I think everybody's all right.
Despite not having a pit wall there, Daytona's pit road can get quite narrow, especially when you got everybody doing the same thing. And also when you've got drivers that qualified up at the front that are running at the back and vice versa. Different drivers with different timing coming off of pit lane. Kelly Causey stayed out here with Robert Spring. This says to me that 00 was planning on pitting the second time by, and he was trying to snipe himself a lap lead and negate that bonus point Denny Carroll had. Unfortunately for him, Robert Spring had the same idea, and so he's going to get the lap lead bonus point instead of Causey.
Always interesting to me to see how these decisions and how they're made under yellow, because these lap lead bonus points, they count regardless of whether it's a green flag lap or it's a caution lap.
So just before that wreck took place, I wanted to check on something real quickly, just in a possible scenario of what we could see dependent on where the top three, the championship 3 finishers, end up being in the results of just this first race. As looks like Kelly's going to stay out the extra lap here for the bonus point. Robert Spring's going to come in from the lead. So this is what I was going to kind of look at here. So last week, Ken Roberts won at Daytona. We saw him involved in a big wreck, had engine damage, was majorly off the pace the following race at Primetime Superspeedway. The question would be, would he have garnered enough points, as we were debating here before we came on the air, would that win here at Daytona have garnered him enough points to be able to hold on to a spot in the Final Four? The answer to that would have been yes. He ended up at the end of the night being 4th in the point standings, 14 points over his nearest competitor, which would have been the first driver eliminated, Brian Lovell. So to that end, you'd have to kind of wonder here in this one, if your other competitors run into trouble at Primetime and you win here, does that give you the luxury of maybe not having the best of finishes, getting involved in a wreck, soldiering on for the best finish you can in the upcoming race to be able to hang on, get enough points for the championship? I don't know. We mentioned about wins, they're important, but this series and these playoffs, with there being 2 races each round, it's a lot more about consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this, if I was behind the wheel right now, I feel like my mindset would just be to keep soldiering on regardless of what happens. Every single point matters, every lap you run matters, so every position matters. It really just comes down to, can you stay consistent enough regardless of what happens?
I mean, consider this. Kelly Causey ended up finishing top 10 in both races last week, and he ended up at the end of the night being the points leader of the 8 drivers that were still in the hunt for the championship. So it will be interesting to see. And you talked about decision making for these final 3 drivers as well. You know, big picture racing. Do you want to put yourself in a compromised position battling for a win, or even battling for 4th or 5th or 6th? Do you kind of throw up your hands, back out of it, and say, okay, you know what? 8th, 9th, 10th, that's still a top 10 finish. I'll take that. I'll survive. I'll move on and try and build off this at Primetime, rather than being in the middle of this hornet's nest, possibly having a move go wrong, and then find myself up into the wall, maybe up and over, and finishing outside of the top 15.
I mean, that's the thing that just makes the championship exciting, is that sometimes you just have to take the risk. That comes down to, are these drivers going to be willing to take that risk? And it really will just depend on how comfortable they feel in certain scenarios. Do they feel like maybe they should continue to push for a possible win, or do they think, nah, I need to play it as safe as I possibly can and make sure I can at least get to the checkered flag with a clean race car?
Well, this caution should get us home with one more pit stop. I believe that when we go green, we should be able to make it to around lap 30, which would put us at 10 to go. So only one pit stop left for these drivers to have to make. Question will be, will they be making it under green or under yellow? Nate Balser, the pole sitter, back on point. He'll be the control car. Denny Carroll, who so far has been the highest running of the playoff championship 3, will line up to his outside. Greg Lovell right there with him, though, as he'll restart in 3rd place, rather. Brian Lovell in 4th. 5th place is going to be Keith Bynum. Kelly Causey was scored 6th, but that is now Graham McDonald after Causey came to pit road. Looks like Craig Hagley, Brian Rawson, Graham McDonald, Mike Mangialardi, Greg Palmer are going to be the top 10. We're waiting for scoring to update here on where the 00 is going to restart. Looks like it's going to be somewhere around 18th place here for this upcoming restart. However, bear in mind, Kelly Causey, mission accomplished. got himself the lap-led bonus point. So now it's just down to Greg Lovell to get up here and lead a lap. And problems for Kelly Causey right out of the gate.
I'm going to say he was definitely had a lot in a position where he had a lot of ground to make up at this restart, and that certainly is not going to help his cause because these back few cars here are going to kind of lose. I don't think they're going to totally lose the draft, but they're going to be held back quite a while.
Not sure exactly what happened on that restart. As you got Rodney Sullins and Mark Paglia dropping back here. I think this is by design. I think there are a couple of teammates to Kelly Causey coming back here to give him the assist of draft, help move him back up, not have him lose the lead pack.
Sullins almost made contact with the 6th car while that was going on, so that almost had a wreck.
Paglia almost got up into somebody too, coming up the banking there after being on the apron going into 3. But looks like they've picked Kelly Causey up. And we'll try and get him caught back up here to this front pack, which is still side by side for the race lead.
Yeah, judging by what they were doing, I feel like the radios were lighting up as soon as the 00 went below the apron. He was probably telling some people, get me some help.
3 wide, a little further back there. Field kind of got broken up. Not sure if it was somebody maybe restarting in the wrong gear. Maybe somebody lost a gear. That's something we'll have to maybe keep an eye on that 00. Did he maybe blow a gear on the restart and get a bump from behind by, I think it was Craig Hagley that was lined up in the row just behind him? I mean, if that's the case, it's going to make future restarts very difficult for that 00.
And I don't want to speak with finality here, but it might very well take him out of contention for the win in this race.
Certainly
this car's
could.
not up to speed.
Let's double check in on him here. Got Rodney Sullins leading the charge. Looks like they're going to be okay. They're racing double wide, 3 wide up here, tail end of this lead pack. So I think that this train of single file is going to catch back up here to the lead pack. But now the question is, once you get up here and you've got all 3 lanes occupied, where in the world do you go? Maybe at this point, if you're Kelly Causey, once you get up to the tail end of the field, maybe just kind of ride for the time being. You've got the lap-led bonus point, which he tried to get a couple of times and finally was successful. Maybe just let everything play out in front of you, wait for a cycle of green flag pit stops to maybe pick up your track position.
And this goes back to the conversation that we were having earlier, where you just kind of want to soldier on at this point. You know, your car might not necessarily be the fastest, but you want to be able to salvage any good points position you can out of this race.
It's
That
been
in the back of your mind as well.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it has. No, you're good. Yeah, you want to kind of keep it in the back of your mind as well, that it's not, you got the second race to work with too. So if things go wrong in this race, all hope is not lost at the very least.
I was going to say, this was a good back and forth. Suddenly you see that inside line pull away. Why is that? Well, you see a 3rd lane has now formed up there on the top side with Robert Breedlove. I believe that's Greg Palmer up there with him. Rodney Sullins, Brian Rosson trying to bring Kelly Causey back up here to the front. That's all the numbers that they needed in that middle line to be able to stay in touch with the bottom being led by Nate Balser. It's given that inside line the advantage. I believe that I saw they're off of 4, so now 2 of our championship 3 have brushed the wall. Kelly Causey had a little brush there heading into the tri-oval on this previous lap. Look at this back here. 3 wide, 4 rows deep. Got the red, blue, and green 00 right back there. Denny Carroll is leading that 3rd line. The only driver right now that looks like he's in a bit of a safe spot would be Greg Lovell, who's currently holding down the 2nd spot behind the race leader, Nate Balser.
Graham does not have a whole lot of help in that middle lane. He's quickly going to go back to the bottom there.
And now Robert Breedlove going to go to the middle line. And he's actually going to make that pass all by himself. That was impressive.
Yeah.
Got the run, used the momentum, completely was able to clear the 41 in that middle line, and now he'll head the outside line and try and bring them closer up inside of the top 10.
And now he's really going to have that help because he was able to get in front of that lane. Well, there was a whole bunch of other cars right behind him, so he's going to have all that drafting help. The only question is, can the outside lane kind of make it work? Because they're still, it seems to me like they're still sort of losing ground to the inside.
Getting that energy back a little bit here now. They're gaining maybe about car length and a half each
Double
lap.
Zero's back up here.
Yep, he's back in the lead pack there, right behind Brian Rawson. And we saw all three of our championship hopefuls start inside of the top 5, but mentioned at Super Speedway, it's not really about where you start, it's where you finish. Case in point, John Godfrey started this race from shotgun. And he's up in the 4th position now in that Schuler Systems 711 Chevrolet, right behind Keith Bynum in the 63.
A nice paint scheme, but I feel like there's a bit more of an appropriate sponsor if you're going to run that number.
Would it have something to do with a Slurpee?
I think so.
Now that middle line is gaining ground. They've gotten themselves up into the top 5, at least the leader of that line, Robert Breedlove. They've lost some numbers, though. A little bit of a breakup from Sullins back to Brian Rawson. They don't necessarily need those extra cars, but it wouldn't help. We've seen in the past where if you can get 3 or 4 drivers and an outside line formed up in a good, tight draft, they can actually make good progress. The big reason being, longer way around the racetrack, more time being able to stay in the throttle. When you're on the bottom and you're all lined up like you see here on this inside, a lot more checkup, a lot more lifting out of the throttle, a lot more loss of momentum, specifically off the corner and onto the straightaway. So that's why we see this outside line, this middle line, if you will, be able to gain a lot more momentum, specifically off of 2 and onto the backstretch.
I think the only thing that's really worrying me is watching the cars on the bottom kind of shift up a little bit towards the middle. If you accidentally end up flipping the apron of the racetrack, they might go sliding up a little bit too high. With how close some of these cars are running together, sometimes that can be a disaster.
And those cars running close together, that is by design as well. To your point, it's the risk reward, because if you're on that outside line, that middle line, you're trying to pinch down the driver on the bottom, not allowing them to be able to slide that right front, get a little bit better of an arc, a little bit better of an exit off of 2 to carry momentum down the back straightaway. But as you say, if they slip up just a little bit, get on that apron, push up off the corner, guess what? You're the buffer between them and the outside wall. Now, Nate Balser continues to lead. 1 lap ago was an important lap if you're Denny Carroll, because up to that point, Denny Carroll had the bonus point for most laps led. Nate Balser just led his 11th lap. Denny has led 9. So that bonus point for most laps led now belongs to a non-playoff driver. So currently, the only bonus points that are mattering right now would be just if you've led a single lap tonight, which currently is a bonus point in the possession of both Denny Carroll and Kelly Causey. As here comes Billy Elliser to pit road in the 26. This is much earlier than projected. But the window is open to make it the rest of the way, though, too.
Yeah, I was thinking about when pit stops were going to play a factor in this race, and it looks like Elliser decided now is the time. I'll have to keep an eye on him for the rest of the race, because that's a very early pit stop. If this is just the opening of the window, though, maybe this is the move.
Well, he's coming down by himself, though, too.
Yeah, I was going to say the only real problem is that you're going down by yourself, so you're not going to have any drafting help when you come off of pit road. So he's probably hoping that there are some guys coming down this time by, but even still, he's going to get off pit road a lot earlier than they are.
Should have more drivers in these next couple of laps. Here comes Greg Lovell in. Oh, there's a lot of drivers coming in. This is not
Ooh.
going to be a very easy entry for anyone. We are 3 and 4 wide coming in here.
Had a car go off pit road into the grass, too. I mean, hot pitting can be pretty dangerous, and that right there, you see why.
That was Robert Breedlove. We see Andrew Miller have to swing around the outside of the 7-Eleven. Looks like everybody's going to get into their pit stalls, though having to maneuver around some traffic. And while you're concentrating on air traffic control on pit lane entry, it can be very easy to not be looking at your tachometer and seeing what kind of speed you're carrying. We'll have to keep an eye out and see if anybody ends up getting hit with a pit road speeding penalty. As here comes this group of 4 in Sullins, Brian Rawson, Kelly Causey, Craig Hagley. Looks like Garland Oaks rather, going to join them as well. Maybe make it a 5-car pack coming in here at the lap that I projected most everybody coming in, the conclusion of lap 29 onto 30. Lengthy stay on pit road there for Mark Paglia. There's Robert Breedlove, Graham McDonald coming in. I almost wonder about the 931 if maybe he was held for a 30-second penalty. We saw him off into the grass there at pit lane entry. He might have missed the commitment cone.
Yeah. And like I said, those hot pits can be a little bit dangerous. I mean, obviously a narrow pit road when those cars are all running so close together, and they were kind of going down a funnel, it almost looked like, when they were merging on the pit road together. We got 3 wide here. Cars trying to get around the 22. Greg Palmer.
Yeah, to your point. Swinging up there to the outside line. Maybe most specifically to get himself ahead of the 8 of Greg Lovell, one of his championship competitors.
And that's exactly why he made that move.
And look at this. This was the second group that came to pit lane. Sullins, Causey, Rawson, all able to get off pit road together. Little 3-car tandem. They've got about, maybe about 15 car lengths, 15 to 20 car lengths back here to Denny Carroll and company. This pack is certainly going to produce a lot more speed, a lot faster lap times than those top 3. They'll be reeling them in, but good gain of track position if you're the 00, who was kind of mired back outside of the top 10 for most of this. We have got word that one driver has been hit with a speeding penalty. Black flag issued to driver 22, Greg Palmer, so he'll have to come to pit road for a stop and go. Should see the 22 car diving onto pit road this time. There he goes. Smoke here.
All kinds of smoke. I wonder if somebody maybe had an incident on pit road.
Yeah.
The front stretch looks clear. Ooh.
Pat McCarskey coming in. Somebody else is smoking on entry. That's Greg Palmer.
It looked like heavy damage. Yeah, this car right here, Billy Illister. There's a lot of damage on the back of that car.
Where did that damage come from? He wasn't involved, at least not that significantly, in any of our 2 previous yellows, so I'm not necessarily certain where this came from, unless he got run into the back of on pit road, or maybe there was a spin on pit lane that we didn't see.
Yeah, judging by all the smoke that was near the front stretch, not quite on the front stretch, but that was near the front stretch, and now we're seeing cars that are damaged like that. I feel like something happened on pit road. And obviously did not bring out the caution.
Well, it is certainly going to be an interesting storyline to follow here, Jack. I just noticed that Ken Roberts has joined the TeamSpeak, so he will obviously attempt to make the race here upcoming at Primetime Super Speedway. I'm not necessarily certain, and we'll obviously know once we end up getting the recalculated points. I don't know in a Final Four if you can get provisional or last place points. Don't know exactly if he's going to have to start from ground zero at the 3,000 resetted points or not. We'll have to see just exactly how high a mountain Ken Roberts will have to climb. But I think it's probably safe to say, since we had 25 drivers take the green flag in this one, and Causey, Lovell, and Carroll are going to establish points in this race, it's going to be a must-win for driver 55 in the finale race, and even that might not get you enough points to win the championship.
Yeah, we're going to really have to see how things play out. Obviously, this race still has a few laps left in it, and anything can happen by that point. But to your point, I think it might be too little too late. We'll have to see if the points reset, if he gets any last place provisional points or anything like that. But
well, this could be
this might
big
not be
right here.
enough.
Greg Lovell, push from Nate Balser. Remember, he's the only one of the 3 playoff drivers in this race that has not led a lap yet. He wants that bonus point.
And those cars, while you were talking, the 28 of Mark Paglia was in the way of these cars. He was down a lap, so these cars were trying to get out of the way and make their way around him. There was some contact at the bottom. They almost crashed.
Both Robert Breedlove and Mark Paglia, tail end of this pack, put a lap down. We're also entering into that territory that we dubbed the point of no return. This time by, lap 36 will be completed. We got that final pit stop out of the way. They know they're good to make it on fuel. Question is now, can they get to the white flag? 4 laps to go here in our first of 2 playoff races in the final round. And there's traffic more up ahead to deal with.
Lovell just barely missed out on getting that lap lead bonus point. Looks like the lap traffic is going to get up out of the way. So hopefully no problems. They're going to encounter them on the backstretch too. That'll make things a little bit simpler.
We've seen the closing stages of these races. These drivers are not afraid to shove to get their respective lines going. Right now, Kelly Causey pushing Rodney Sullins on that outside line. Rewind 2 weeks ago, he was the one that helped push Ken Roberts to a victory in the first playoff race. Inside line, you got Nate Balser trying to help Greg Lovell, and Lovell led that lap. So there you go. Take and erase the bonus point for lap led for all 3 drivers. Now it's basically just down to where you finish in relation to the other. Someone up into the wall there. That was Mark Paglia, I think, in the 28. He has saved it. We are still green.
That's a scary sight this late in the race. Now what do you do if you're Greg Lovell? What's the mindset here?
Especially if that middle line gets a run. Do you move up? Do you try and block that momentum? Or do you stay committed to the bottom? 2 laps to go here from Daytona. If you're the middle line, you're hoping there's no third lane that tries to form, because that's all your momentum gone.
This is something that I wonder a lot about when you're in a position like Greg Lovell is in right now. 2 to go, you're coming to the white flag, you win this race. This is a massive boost to your championship hopes. But do you want to be leading right now, or do you want to be the pusher?
I'm okay with leading just as long as I'm just staying committed to the yellow line. If they bypass me around the top, they bypass me around the top. I'm not leaving the bottom.
I guess we're going to have to see how comfortable he's going to feel. White flag is going to be in the air this time by the 79 car being a little bit patient right now, but time is ticking.
If he makes a move, talking about Balser, does anybody go with him? You've got Dan Lovell just behind. You got to think he probably would stay with Greg, but you got John Godfrey there. He's still not clear on Rodney Sullins. This is not an ideal situation for Balser, at least at the moment. If he makes a move, there's nobody to be able to give him a push. You see Denny Carroll back there desperately trying to make a third line, as he's currently third running of the Championship 3. Unless there's a move here out of the final corner, I think Greg Lovell is going to be picking up some maximum points here and picking up his 2nd win of the playoffs. He will do so. Greg Lovell takes the checkered flag here at Daytona. Could be the champion favorite now going into the final race of the night at Primetime Superspeedway.
Obviously, the exact result Greg was hoping for. Getting the job done here in this first race. I think in our post-race rundown, I'll probably ask him what he feels like the mindset is going to be at primetime. I mean, obviously, he's going to try and want to push for another win, but I think probably one of the first things that I'm going to ask him is how is he going to feel now that he has this cushion? Does he want to stay aggressive, or does he want to does he know now in the back of his head, now that he has that luxury of this win, does he take things a little bit easier?
This is a dangerous Greg Lovell. Consider the fact he came into the playoffs with a 0 in the win column. Playoff race number 2, wins on fuel mileage at Primetime Super Speedway to lock himself into the round of 8. Consistent last week in both the Daytona and the Primetime Super Speedway races to lock himself into the Final Four, and now gets his second win on the season, second win here in the playoffs in the first race here tonight of the Final Four. Talk about a time to get hot. Couldn't pick a better time if you're Greg. Let's take a look at the finishing results here from this one. And not only does Greg Lovell pick up the checkered flag, but he's going to have a bit of a cushion to be able to use in preparation for the upcoming second and final race of the night, as Kelly Causey will finish in 6th. Denny Carroll will finish down in 10th, and as we documented, Ken Roberts did not take the green flag in this one. He will be participating in the upcoming race here, the second race at Primetime Super Speedway. Nate Balser brings it home in 2nd place. Dan Lovell going to cap off the podium. Rodney Sullivan's in 4th, and John Godfrey was 5th. We documented Kelly in 6th, Randy Waugh in 7th, Brian Ross in 8th, Garland Oaks 9th, and Denny Carroll completes the top 10. You saw that full finisher results there as they are in the process of now getting the servers swapped over to Primetime Super Speedway. So that will take us into our FRN post-race wind down, our first of the night. And let's see if we can get a hold of the driver that brought it home in the 3rd position. Let's dial up Dan Lovell.
User was moved to your
Hey Dan,
channel.
it's Jack and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us? Give it another try here. Dan, the guys up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us? Dan might have actually stepped away here with the conclusion of this first one in preparation for the second one. So we'll see if we can get a hold of him
User was
in
moved
just
out
a
of your
few
channel.
minutes. Let's see if we can get the 2nd place finisher here tonight, Nate Balser.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey Nate, it's Jack and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, 10-4, I got you.
Hey, great run for you here tonight in this first race of the evening at Daytona. You start in the pole position, you led the most laps as well, and you bring it home solidly in the 2nd spot. I gotta wonder there, I was kind of looking at your scenario on that final lap. You got Greg in front of you, you got Dan behind you, and any type of help's about 2 car lengths back, and they're stacked up side by side for 4th. So was there any type of a scenario you saw where you could maybe make a move for the win, or were you committed to just running there in that 2nd spot?
You know, I was committed to kind of keeping the eye on the guys that are in the chase, and I knew Greg was in there. And there was a couple of times that I probably could have went around him and take the win, but I wanted to make sure that I was just helping somebody that was in the chase, and Greg happened to be in front of me. So I pretty much I committed to that. And I figured, you know, a second would be an awesome thing. Plus you're helping somebody out. So that was good enough for me.
That's a good mindset to have, kind of working with those chase drivers, because they have something to race for. So obviously there's a bit more on the line there for those guys. But you obviously yourself, if you find yourself in a position like that, do you think you're going to stick with the same mindset, or now knowing in the back of your mind that this next race at Primetime is going to be the last race of the season, do you maybe think there's a little bit of an added, motivation to try and go for a win?
There's always that thing, especially in the heat of the moment, when you know that you could make a pass and get a win. That's always, I mean, you're on the edge, and that's the first thing. But you know what? I think if I get in the same position again, I'm probably going to stay where I'm at, whether it be 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, and just try to make sure one of those chase drivers, get a win, and just keep the draft. And, the more cars in line, the better the draft. And so I'm probably going to go ahead and stick with that mindset, I think.
We talked about the fact, obviously, for the 3, now 4 playoff drivers, with Ken finally able to make it here, having the earlier internet issues. There's a lot of points that are up for grabs there that are available we were kind of watching drivers depending on their situations there. Kelly and Greg got involved in an earlier wreck. Something happened rear of the field where Kelly lost the draft and was able to, with the help of some teammates, catch back up to the lead pack. We saw Denny Carroll move up there to the outside line 3 wide late in this race. It kind of almost looks like these playoff drivers, a couple of their moves are a little bit desperate. Would you say that is the case here, realizing that every position, whether it be just even that 1 point, could be significant in who's going to end up winning the championship and who's going to be runner-up?
Oh, absolutely. I think we saw that on that first wreck there, and I think it pretty much played out there. And we knew it would probably be difficult to get too many green flag pit stops, which would be nice, except for that, the last one there. And I think you called it exactly right. I think that's exactly what happened from the beginning.
Well, Nate, congratulations. Great start to the night for you. Up front all evening long after starting on the pole. Podium finish in second place. Maybe we see you get that one spot better here in the upcoming final race of the season. Before we let you go and get ready for Primetime Super Speedway, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, just thanks for PRL for putting on these races, and you guys in the booth, man. I always, whether I'm in the race or not, I always love your show. And I always thank my family for watching. And like I say, I'm a big fan of FRN. So thank you guys very much.
Well, hey, we appreciate it. That's Nate Balser, brings home second place here at Daytona and now gets ready to take on the high banks of Primetime Super Speedway in the final race of the night, the final race of the season. Best of luck.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Let's see if we can now get a hold of the driver down in victory lane. See if we can dial up
User was moved out of
the
your channel.
8 of Greg Lovell. Second victory on the season, second victory in the playoffs.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey, Greg, it's Jack and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
I think I said this to you back at Primetime Super Speedway, playoff race number 2. You had struggles, you had ups and downs during the regular season, but what a time to get hot during the playoffs. Last week we saw consistency. Tonight, another victory, 2 wins, and they're both in the postseason. You're heading into Primetime Super Speedway now with the points lead. Is this where you wanted to be? Established right out of the gate at Daytona, hey, this is the car to beat, and now you gotta try and beat me at my best at a track I've previously won at.
Yeah, I was really hoping and praying that I would either finish first or second in the first race, because when you do that, it takes a lot of pressure off of you. Not saying that I'm not going to race like I always do in this race. I'm going to race the same as I always do. I'm going to finish the best I can, but it takes a lot off of you.
And it certainly seemed like it was you were determined to hold that line that you were in that race there at the end and make sure you come away with a victory. So what's the mindset now going into Primetime? Do you feel as though now that you have the luxury of having that race win, do you feel like maybe you can play it just a little bit safe, or do you want to stay aggressive and try to keep pushing on and try to claim that championship?
I'm staying aggressive, as aggressive as I can. I just don't want to get caught up in a wreck. That's the worst part about it. You just never know what's going to happen in front of you or whatever. We're not guaranteed to even finish the race. Even if you're in fifth place, you're not guaranteed. To finish the race, because a wreck could happen up front. You just don't never know. You just gotta hope and pray it don't.
With that being said, we end up seeing, obviously, here in this first race, you had to overcome some adversity, got caught up in that first wreck there. Is there, in your mind, a safe area of the field that you're going to be looking to be in? Is it the front of the field, or is there going to be like another area of the racetrack, another area of the field, maybe even depending on circumstances, that you're going to be specifically looking for to make sure that you're not going to be in anywhere in the vicinity of that potential big one, because we talked about last week, Ken Roberts, he won this race here at Daytona, got caught up in a wreck at Primetime and just barely made his way into the Final Four. So, is there any type of strategy in positioning oneself when you think you see where that big one could be brewing?
Yeah, hopefully get the get a good starting spot, maybe in the top 5, and just try to stay in the top 5 or 6, and not get back in the middle of the pack, because to me seems to me that's where more most of the accidents happen at, is from the middle back. So I'm gonna try to get a good starting spot, and I'm gonna try to stay in the top 5 if it's possible. It just all depends on how the lines go, Seth. You know how that works. The top line, everybody can go high, and if you're on the bottom with only four or 5 cars, man, that whole line's gonna just pass you, and you're gonna go from second or third to 20th. I mean, you just don't never know, man, what's gonna happen. You just
Absolutely.
gotta
Super
hope and
speedways.
pray. Yeah, and so it's something about when these guys try to form a third line, that bottom line just takes off, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Myself personally, I mean, I've been racing a long time. I've never seen that. I have never seen a third line form, and it would help, and it just helps the bottom line. The bottom line. I don't know why it does that, but it does.
That's something that we've observed as well here during the last couple of Saturday nights. It will be interesting, all that information you're talking about here, been able to glean during the course of the season. It'll be a lot of fun to watch you put it to use here as you look to defend this points lead, getting the victory as well. You get some bonus points to be able to help have a bit of a cushion as well coming into this final race of the night. You look to close out the championship here in Season 5 of the Primetime Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series. We wish you luck on that, Greg, with this upcoming race here at Primetime Super Speedway. We'll let you get back at it here after you're celebrating in Victory Lane, but first we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Yep, I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy Nate. If he's behind me, he's gonna stay behind me. Me and Nate's really good friends. Plus, I've got other guys helping me tonight too. So, Brian's here, Danny's here, Timothy's here. I got a few other people too, besides them helping me tonight too. So, I believe I'll be okay.
Well, Greg Lovell gets ready to defend his points lead, close out the season with a championship. His second win on the season, his second win here in the playoffs. Congratulations once again. I'll repeat what I said a couple weeks ago. What a time to get hot. Maybe we talk to you in championship victory lane at the end of the night.
Thank you, Seth.
User was moved out of your channel.
We're just going to double check real quickly here, see how much time we got left in the session, see if we got enough time to dial up Dan Lovell, see if we can attempt to talk with him here. We're going to be in qualifying. We'll see if we can quickly get him for a quick word as he brought it home in third place.
User was moved to
Hey
your
Dan,
channel.
Seth and Jack up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey,
How's it going?
Going good. Sixth start in the season. Great run for you here in this first race of the night. Bring it home P3 in the conversation for the win, but I'd have to assume it was all helping that 8 car here tonight, right? Just holding that bottom line and feeding that information on what was going on in that second groove.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just, making sure I stayed as close to Greg as I could, push him as much as I can from wherever I could. Of course, you always want to try to get a win. There's a couple of times I thought about jumping outside in front of the 28 out there, I think it was 28 or 38, and, trying to take that W away. But, I didn't. Denny was too close to us, and I knew him and Denny were battling for it. So, I'm going to help Greg every chance I get.
All right. Well, qualifying looks like about to get started here in just a moment. Do you feel like you're going to keep the same mindset here going into primetime?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna definitely be working with Greg, but like I said, if I can pull off a W, and Greg's close to me in the process, yeah, I'm always up for a win. So I'm gonna be fighting for it. It's not all about helping your teammates always. I like to get a win sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
probably a little bit
absolutely.
of added motivation too with this being the last race of the season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna try to push and get at least some recognition. I didn't get to race much this season, work and everything, so I'm on a different schedule now. So I should be able to hit just about every one of these Saturday night races now. So you'll see me up there in the point standings next season.
Sounds good. Well, Dan, congratulations on a great run here at Daytona. Maybe we'll be talking to you a little bit later on here this evening. If not on the podium, maybe we hear you in Victory Lane to close out this final race of the season here at Primetime Super Speedway. Before we let you go here in preparation for qualifying and all that, we'll turn it over to you for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, just want to thank Keith for putting everything together here. Thank all the admins that help us out, all these racers that come to join us. Because without the drivers, we wouldn't have this. Appreciate you guys for what you do for broadcasting. Putting that helps put us on the map, get us recognition. So appreciate that, you guys. I want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife Bonnie, my kids, my grandkids, all of them, and just. Just give a kudos to all these drivers out here and wish the best for Greg and all these championship drivers. And again, just appreciate you guys.
That's Dan Lovell, third place here at Daytona, looking to keep this momentum up to close out the season here at Primetime Super Speedway. Congratulations on the great run, and hopefully we talk to you at the end of the night one more time.
Let's go get them.
User was moved out of your channel.
So that's your podium finishers from this first race. We're currently waiting for qualifying to get underway. We do have a points graphic that we'll be showing during the course of the final race of the season here in regards to the playoff. Shout out to Graham McDonald, who hooked me up with the playoff points at the conclusion of this most recent race at Daytona. It currently sits as follows. Greg Lovell, points leader. Got that win, so extra bonus points coming his way. He will have a 9-point gap between himself and Kelly Causey. So we're talking 10 positions that Causey would have to finish ahead of Greg to be able to take the title. That's not counting Causey winning the race. Denny Carroll, 13 points back, so he would have to finish 14 positions ahead of Greg Lovell and 5 positions ahead of Kelly Causey to take the championship. Ken Roberts sitting a distant 41 points back. There's no mathematical way with the number of drivers we have in the field, and even if he were to win and the other 3 competitors finished in the final 3 spots, there's no mathematical way for Ken Roberts, unfortunately, to be able to take this title after having 2 victories himself during the course of the playoffs. But you think about this, Ken Roberts with 2 victories at Daytona. He's I believe now 4-time winner on the season. This is going to be a dangerous 55 here who's just going to, be obviously racing a little frustrated that he wasn't able to participate in the first playoff race here of the Final Four, and now he's just going to be going out there trying to close out the season with a series-leading 5th trip to victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough break. Obviously, he probably really wishes that those internet issues would have been resolved earlier because, again, like we've just documented, he would be probably pretty in the thick of his championship battle if he was able to run in that first race. But now, like you said, it's just yet another driver in the field that's just looking to do what they can to, at the very least, to end the season on a high note. So that clash in mentality that we see a lot lately, drivers that are fighting for a championship versus drivers that just want to end the season the best way they possibly can. We're going to see some drivers maybe try some riskier moves in that sense. So it could make for a very interesting finale here, especially at a track like Primetime where there's a lot more room to make moves like that.
It's kind of interesting when we talked with Dan there. It looked like, for the most part there, final closing stages of Daytona, Balser pretty committed to staying with Greg. Dan pretty committed to staying with Greg there on the inside line. Dan said he considered maybe moving up there to that outside line to try and make a move for the win, but he didn't say I'm flat out going for it. Here for this race, he said, hey, if I'm in a spot, I'm definitely going for the victory because, yeah, you want to work with teammates and everything, but everybody, once that visor comes down the helmet, they want to be the first to the checkered flag. Is that going to be the mentality, do you think, for all the allies that these 3 and now 4 playoff drivers we're going to be calling upon for help here? They kind of are like, all right, I've done my job. I've helped you at Daytona. I've established you a foothold. Now you're on your own.
I mean, Dan did say during his interview, it's not necessarily all about helping out your teammates, though. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, what decisions get made. So, I don't know. I'm really excited to see how this thing plays out.
We were treated to a photo finish last week here at
Forgot
this
about that.
racetrack. And we may be in for one to close out the season, maybe back-to-back weeks. Primetime Super Speedway, of course, the same track dimensions, characteristics of a Talladega Super Speedway. So the start-finish line's not in the center of the tri-oval like it is at Daytona. You've got that extra few hundred feet before you get down to the start-finish line, halfway between the center of the tri-oval and turn 1. That can be a huge difference maker into who's going to be winning and who is going to be bridesmaid in the runner-up position. They are just getting done with wrapping up qualifying. Once that's concluded, they head over to happy hour. We'll bring you back here to live feed. Again, as mentioned, Greg Lovell 9 points in hand over Kelly Causey, 13 back to Denny Carroll. It's interesting because I think we're going to have now 26 drivers here in this one with the addition of Ken Roberts. It's not necessarily a must-win situation if you're the 00 or the 41, but do you think, especially with the fact that the 8's gone to victory lane already tonight, that you have to treat this race as such?
I don't know. I think that I'm just, my mind is going back to the fact that the 8 said that he was going to stay aggressive. So I really honestly I'm not necessarily sure. I think it's a different feeling when you're behind the wheel. So we'll see how things play out.
We'll bring you back here to live now as drivers will be heading out here for happy hour in preparation for the final race of the night and final race of the season. These drivers underwent 24 regular season races to set up the playoffs, which featured 16 drivers. They then ran 2 races 2 weeks ago. That whittled the field down from the original 16 to the Elite 8. Last week, another 2 races put us from our round of 8 to the final 4. And here tonight, we had 3 drivers take the green flag at Daytona moments ago. The 4 drivers will take the green flag here in the season finale. Let's show you the points coming in. This is what it looks like. 9 points in hand over Causey, 13 over Denny Carroll, Ken Roberts a distant 41 back. For Greg Lovell, looking at all plausible scenarios here, if Kelly Causey were to win this race, I believe Greg would have to finish in 6th or better to still win the title. For Denny Carroll to be able to, if he won the race, then Greg would have to finish in 10th or better to be able to win the title. So technically, in a thought process here, top 10 should get Greg Lovell this title, dependent on where the 41 and the 00 end up finishing here tonight. That added driver of Ken Roberts in the field, an extra added point as well that could be up for grabs, as we've got about 2.5 minutes still left here in happy hour. Remind everybody that currently we are in the off season for RTG, but we will be back in a couple of weeks' time for Thursday night broadcasting, the brand new season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series, as we'll be in partnership with Tarnation TV. They'll be handling the production side. FRN will have the commentary side in a pretty cool simulcast that will be taking place on both the Flatout Racing Network and the Tarnation TV YouTube channels. And also, you see on the bottom right of our screen, we continue to remember the life and legacy of David Cannon. Some exciting news out of Rolling Thunder Gaming here this afternoon. as mark your calendars, October 4th. FRN going to be bringing you coverage of the David Cannon 00300. Going to be a first ever here on the Flatout Racing Network, as we will be covering 2 races at the same time. There will be 2 simultaneously run qualifying races. The top 20 from those 2 races will take part in a main event race, and that will be taking place on the evening of October 4th, Saturday evening. So mark your calendars. It's going to be a first time ever. Been doing a lot of experimentation, trying to figure it all out. I believe we have a game plan going forward, but it's going to be a first ever here on the Flatout Racing Network. I believe after tonight, our next broadcast is going to be Wednesday night, as we are going to be continuing on the playoffs for the Esports Ovalings Grind Cup Series. They've put Chicagoland in the rearview mirror, the first race of the first round of the playoffs. 2 more racetracks, tough ones coming up. Iowa this Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then next week, the week after, they are at the Concrete Coliseum of Bristol. So it is going to be a tough task for those drivers that will be looking to move on in the postseason. Again, Wednesday night, Iowa, for the Grind Cup Series playoffs.
I'm looking forward to checking out that doubleheader race as well that you mentioned, having 2 races simultaneously. That should be fun to watch.
Yeah, fun to watch. Difficult to keep track of, probably.
Yeah, I imagine that the people in the booth are going to have a bit of a difficult time calling it. Need any help, I'll be there.
Spin. All right, we've got zeros on the clock here for happy hour. We should be gridding up here momentarily. Final race of the season so far. Ironically, I know we started out the playoffs with 16 drivers, went to 8. We were then down to 4, make it 3 at Daytona. So far, 5 playoff races and 4 playoff drivers have gone to victory lane. So, not been easy for the non-playoff drivers to be able to break into victory circle here in the postseason. We'll see if maybe somebody will be able to here in this one, as we ended up having a non-playoff driver go to victory lane here 1 week ago in that photo finish.
Yeah, I'm not definitely certain how things will play out. Obviously, anything can happen at a super speedway race, but at the same time, I'm going back to what some of the drivers were saying during our post-race wind-downs and how these drivers are kind of willing to, stand to the side a little bit and let the people who are actually battling for the championship settle it out amongst themselves, or at least not get in the way of the drivers who are battling out for the championship. So I have to feel like that mentality might play a role in the fact that playoff drivers have been winning most of these playoff races.
Actually, I got to amend my statement. Playoff drivers have won all the playoff races. I just double checked. Kelly Causey won last week. So yeah, they're actually 5 for 5. The playoff drivers are in winning the playoff races. So how about that? All right, they are gridding up. They are getting ready to roll off of pit road, and we'll run you through your starting lineup here for the final race of the season. Nate Ball's going to go 2 for 2 here tonight in capturing the pole position. Not quite nearly as big a gap between himself and second place Ken Roberts. It was 4 1/1000ths of a second this time for the pole spot. Ken, of course, just trying to close out the season as solidly as he can after missing the first race of this Final Four at Daytona. Greg Lovell, another great qualifying effort for him, going to start 3rd alongside of Brian Lovell in row number 2. Randy Waugh and Kelly Causey going to be in row number 3. Causey going to try and build as much of a gap between himself and Greg as possible. Mike Mangialardi, Mark Paglia back in row number 4. Row 5, your top 10 completed with Graham McDonald, who was runner-up here 1 week ago, and Greg Palmer. Tim Anderson is going to make up row number 6 with 3rd place finisher from Daytona, Dan Lovell. Brian Rawson and playoff driver Denny Carroll starting pretty deep in the field there, as they'll make up row number 7. Row 8, Gary Heiser and Craig Hagley. Row 9, Dennis McCarthy, Pat McCarsky, Rodney Sullins, and Keith Bynum, the last drivers to take time. They will complete the top 20. Garland Oaks will start 21st, Andrew Miller in 22nd, John Godfrey 23rd, Billy Elliser in 24th, Robert Spring 25th, and 26th is going to be Robert Breedlove. You heard the command to fire the engines. Field is going to roll off of pit road. Behind the Big Evil Designs Dodge Charger pace car. 2.66 miles in length, this racetrack. Easily can hold them, spaciously can hold them 3 wide. Fully expect to see them 3x3x3 in the early stages of this race. We only had 2 cautions back in the first race at Daytona, but we did see a couple of our playoff drivers get collected up in that first wreck. Both were able to come back. Lovell for the win, Causey for a solid finish inside of the top 10. It's just a matter here, I think, in the early stages, if you're any of these 3 championship hopefuls, of just making sure that you're reading the pack. Avoid when and if that big one might occur, because we talked about last week, Ken Roberts barely made it into the Final Four as his car was all sorts of crunched up here at Primetime Superspeedway off the heels of winning just about maybe half an hour prior at Daytona.
Yeah, so I think especially if you're Greg Lovell, that mindset will apply here. You want to make absolutely certain that you can sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, weather the early storm here at Primetime, kind of make sure that you can read the pack, like you said, survive this opening portion of the race, because if he ends up getting caught up in a wreck and having to take a pretty bad finishing result, that could put his championship hopes in jeopardy, especially with Kelly Causey only 9 points back of the lead.
Try and do our best to keep you aware of what the championship situation looks like, but first, playoff drivers need to get around that 8 of Greg Lovell. If he's out in front of them, there's no way they can catch him. Here we go. 38 laps to close out the season here at Primetime Superspeedway. Nate Balser for the second time tonight going to lead the field to greens, an all Chevrolet bow tie front row with Ken Roberts to its outside. Season 5 Saturday Night Shootout Superspeedway Series season finale is green.
Both of the drivers on the front row got a heck of a start to the race. He got a little bit of a jump, and I was thinking maybe the 55 would maybe try to force his way into the inside. Instead, it's going to be, I think, the 21 forcing his way to the outside. Oh! Made a car just go to the outside and then blink for a little bit.
That was Brian
inside,
Rawson. Yeah, looks like he's having some internet issues. Got down under the apron safely. Does not involve anybody in the problem he's having on his end. That could have been huge. I don't think any of the playoff drivers were anywhere around him, but we talk about drivers wanting to at least finish out the season as strong as they can. Last thing they want to do is be taken out of this season finale due to an internet glitch.
Yeah, that's a horrifying thought. I mean, I was kind of, my blood pressure spiked a little bit when I saw a car shoot below the apron and then
you're not
vanish
even
for a
in the
second.
field.
Yeah, I'm just up here calling the race. Imagine if I was behind the wheel of one of these things.
You'd probably be slammed on the brakes by now.
Yeah.
Here's that 3 wide I was talking about, and look at this. Maybe a sense of urgency for Kelly Causey, who won this race 1 week ago at Primetime Superspeedway. A lot of help up there on the top side, including the 41 of Denny Carroll. So maybe this is kind of what Causey and Carroll have to do here in the early going, realizing, hey, we've got one common goal. We want to... Oh, no!
Look out!
82 of Craig Hagley got turned around. He clipped, I believe it was the 97 of Pat McCarskey. And several other drivers getting swept up into it here as caution is going to wave for the first time here tonight at Primetime Superspeedway. This was behind the playoff drivers, so none of them collected up in it.
Early caution, though. Only 2 laps in.
It has not been a good night for Craig Hagley. take a look at what happened. He was the first car, talking about the 82, that I saw get out of shape in the tri-oval. And this makes me almost wonder if there was a bad bump, or is it bumper grab again? This would be the second straight race that he'd be a victim of bumper grab if that's the case. We got the wall actually there off of 4.
Yeah, I think that's what did it. Bounced off the wall a couple times and just couldn't quite get a hold of it as he tried to merge down back into the rest of the pack.
Maybe scrubbed off some momentum, and that put Pat McCarskey into his back bumper and stacked everybody else up. Let's go to the chopper cam, probably give us the best view. Watch the white 82 on the outside line as they come off of 4. Gets the wall, there's the bump, there's the bumper grab. Palmer, Lovell collected up. And then they're going to come back up the track, and oh, Brian Rawson was turning low to avoid McCarskey, and Robert Breedlove was there. It's about a 6-car incident, bringing out the first yellow flag of the night. Pit road is open, and most of the front runners came down. But the gamesmanship already begins. Causey, who got pushed up there towards the race lead in the early going to elect to stay out here, get himself that bonus point right here, right now.
And Causey going to get that lap lead bonus point, but Denny Carroll is also staying out in the 41. So I think it was only the 8 car. I know he stayed out too, I think, actually.
No, he pit.
Oh, he did pit, okay.
Yep, he pit. The 79 pit. 21 pit. Yeah, from the 79 on back, they all came to pit road.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought I saw one of the final drivers on pit road, but I wasn't totally sure, so there you go.
Now the question is here, Causey stayed out, he's led a lap. He will probably come to pit road. Denny Carroll, who's in 4th, if we get this extra lap of pacing, does he stay out to get the bonus point here and give up track position on the flip side as well?
From that angle, it looked like the lights went out on the pace car for a second. It was playing tricks in my mind. I was going to say, if we're going to go right back to racing that quickly, then he stays out for sure, but we'll see.
Denny's running a bit high up there through 3 and 4, as if maybe, just maybe, he's thinking about staying out.
Could be faking somebody out, though. You never know.
True.
I mean, if you're going to play any mind games with the rest of the field, I feel like now would be the time to do so.
Oh, look at this.
Stays out.
Even Kelly Causey and company going to stay out. So maybe feeling it's too early to come down pit road. There'd only be about 2 to 3 laps in it between those that came down and topped off and these drivers that stayed out. Maybe the thought process for Kelly Causey is, hey, I've got the race lead. Maybe I can lead a few laps here under caution, lead some more laps here on the restart under green, and make a case for myself for that bonus point for most laps led. I mean, the lights are not out. We're still going to have another lap of pacing here, so maybe we'll see these drivers on pit road next time by. We'll have to wait and see. We do have one driver out of the race. That is Billy Elliser in the 26. I did not see him involved in that wreck, but he brought his car down pit road and made the left-hand turn to the garage area. So tough end of the night, tough end of the season for that Coors Light Chevrolet Camaro, as he'll finish out the evening in the 26th position. So as we wait for this caution period to conclude, Kelly Causey continuing to show the way. Ken Roberts currently in second, Mark Paglia in third, Denny Carroll fourth. And those are the drivers that have not pit under this caution period. Nate Balser, who will restart in fifth, did come to pit road to top off. Greg Lovell in sixth. 7th place is going to be Randy Watt, Mike Mangialardi in 8th. 9th, Brian Lovell, and Graham McDonald is going to complete the top 10. Since we've got this extra lap of pacing coming up here, we're going to step aside for just a quick FRN race break, and we'll be back here for the restart from Primetime Superspeedway. Lap 6 about to be completed. Lap 7 on the board here in tonight's season finale. Kelly Causey, playoff contender, going to bring us back to green with Ken Roberts, Mark Paglia, Denny Carroll, Nate Balls of the top 5. All 4 of your championship playoff drivers up here inside of the first 3 rows.
That was a hectic restart. You saw all kinds of pushing and shoving on the top side of the racetrack. I feel like some of those championship drivers getting a little bit desperate. Look at this. You have technically 3 of them in the top line. I say technically because obviously Ken Roberts not really mathematically in the championship hunt anymore, but nevertheless, all these guys running right together, bumper to bumper here on the top, but the problem is they have no help.
Yeah, Ken Roberts mathematically ineligible from winning the title, albeit still a Final Four driver, and look who is all by his lonesome there on the bottom, the 8 of Greg Lovell. Got Nate Balser in front of him, Brian Lovell behind him, Tim Anderson in 33, who he said that he felt he could rely on here tonight as a drafting partner as well. They're all currently running that inside line. All the other playoff drivers going where he's not, trying to make that middle line work. They're making some progress, but not quite maybe as fast as they would if that third line wasn't forming behind them there. As Nate Balser, big push up off the corner. He nearly made contact door to door with Kelly Causey off of 2.
I am horrified of bumper grab right now. Look at how close the 55 is running right behind the 00. I mean, he was pushing him through some of those corners to start this current lap.
Got him clear, though. To
Indeed.
the point goes Kelly Causey. You got a third line forming back there. That's Mike Mangialardi, Robert Breedlove, Andrew Miller, bunch of drivers that started pretty deep in the field here tonight. Miller started 22nd. Breedlove started shotgun in the field. Caution's out.
Again, looked like he was at the way back of the pack.
That's Craig Hagley again. And looks like some pretty good damage on the 74 of Robert Spring.
I was gonna say, I think that happened right before, judging by the pace car rushing its way out onto the racetrack. I think that happened right before the leaders hit the line there. So Ozzy should remain in the race lead.
Kelly Causey, 6 laps led so far. We'll have to see here with this caution. We end up having 4 drivers that did not come to pit road onto the first yellow. Does this force their hand and bring them down pit road now, or do they elect to stay out even longer? Let's take a look and see what happened to the 82.
Ooh.
Wow, almost mirror image of what happened to him at Daytona. Backwards catching air.
Oh, a couple cars, I think, got in the dirt a little bit. I don't know if that really had anything to do with the crash right here, but I saw a couple cars go through the grass on the bottom during that.
That was the 33 of Tim Anderson, if I'm not mistaken. Let's even get another camera shot and see what exactly happens to the 33 as well.
I'm not totally sure that that had anything to do with it, but
No,
you never
me
know.
either.
Sometimes reactions can lead to some incidents there.
Yeah, Keith Bynum gets into the back of Tim Anderson, puts him down in the grass, but you mentioned those 2 dreaded words, bumper grab. I think that's what kind of played into the 82 going around. If we watch here from the chopper cam, I think it's going to be the 024 of Dennis McCarthy that Hagley is going to bumper grab off of here through the tri-oval. Watch right here, just that slight movement. I don't know if from that shot, I don't know if Hagley comes down or if the 24 drifts up, but whatever the case, you see the end result. And that's a big shot right there with the back end of the race car into the inside wall. As a matter of fact, Craig Hagley, I believe, has taken his car back behind the wall. So it's been a tough night for him, as not once but twice he has been backwards with the rear tires up off the ground. It happened at Daytona, and it happened just moments ago here at Primetime Superspeedway.
It's a tough break to have that happen twice in the same night, too. I mean, I mentioned this last week as well. The fact that there's not really a whole lot of time between 2 races during the course of each weekend. So you kind of feel like you have the mentality that, okay, the first race didn't go so great. I have a chance to get right back on the racetrack and sort of bounce back. But if the same thing like that happens and ends both of your races that quickly, I mean, that could be a really frustrating night.
So I don't know if we're setting a trend here this evening, but I would remind everybody that in the Daytona race, we ended up having 2 cautions in the first 14 laps. We went green the rest of the way and saw a cycle of green flag pit stops prior to the conclusion. We are about to complete the 10th lap, working our second caution here at Primetime Superspeedway. So if we're kind of basing the trends off of what we just had, what happened moments ago at Daytona, the drivers might want to start gearing up in preparation of thinking about maybe that money stop, not only for the race victory, but also for the championship. Lights are still on the pace car. We had no lap down drivers, it doesn't look like, so I thought we'd probably get the lights out this time, but we will at least go one more time around. Randy Waugh going to be the race leader. Looks like Dan Lovell will be second, Graham McDonald third, Nate Balser in fourth, and Greg Lovell will be the highest playoff driver as he'll restart in the 5th position. Well, while we've got the opportunity here under yet another caution period, we're going to step aside from Mike's side, and we'll be back here to continue the action with the season finale for the Primetime Racing League Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series right after this FRN race break. car peels off. Randy Waluigi going to be bringing us back to green here.
I was wondering when we were going to make that joke.
Got to put that one in there. We heard from Randy Thursday night. He said, hey, there's certain nights you're not saying it. And Corey wants to hear. Well, there you go, Corey. Is Randy going to get us back under green? Dan Lovell on his outside. Pretty even pushes in both lanes. Graham McDonald wants that splitter just a little bit more ahead here at the end of this one. Going to be third, as now Randy going to move from the bottom up to the top.
One car moving from the top to the bottom. That was a very risky move. He almost wiped out Greg Lovell, and that would have been massive for the championship. That was the 44 car, I think.
And now Randy's in the wrong part of town, in the sucker hole, in the middle, going backwards. Garland Oaks trying to get up there to him. Dan Lovell moves down to maybe offer a little bit of drafting help to the 21 car, but look at how that's helped the inside line. McDonald to the lead, Greg Lovell into second, Brian Lovell third, Ken Roberts right now in fourth. Now he'll jump up to the right rear quarter panel of Brian Lovell for fourth place.
Kind of wondering what Graham McDonald's mindset here. If memory serves, I think he was the driver that barely lost out on that photo finish here last week.
You would be correct. Just short of picking up yet another victory this season. So far, playoff drivers 5 for 5 in winning the playoff races. The odds are against them here tonight. Even with the 24 drivers that we've got still running this race, it's a 1 in 6 chance that a playoff driver is going to take the final checkered flag of the season. And yet, despite these withering odds week after week, they still have been able to find their way first to the start-finish line on the final laps. Here comes Robert Breedlove. Big push from Ken Roberts on the top side. Breedlove trying to do the last to first challenge here tonight as he started shotgun on the field.
Just keeping an eye on the other chase drivers. Everybody else seems to be stuck on the high side right now. They're not really getting too much momentum on the 8 car. Obviously, we've documented multiple times 55 of Ken Roberts not mathematically in the championship picture anymore after missing out on the start of Daytona.
That's your points coming into this one here.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Big save there from Greg Lovell. Nearly went up into brother Dan Lovell. 9 points in hand over Kelly Causey. 13 over Denny Carroll, both of whom Greg is currently being scored ahead of. I say that tentatively because I believe now Causey may draw up alongside of him here going into turn 3. That's going to be a side-by-side battle for the 5th position.
That little wiggle from the 8 car really sent the blood pressure through the roof there. That could have been a disaster.
Here comes Causey. With help from Rodney Sullins and Mark Paglia, going to make it 3 wide. So far, it was interesting. We saw a lot of drivers put a lot of emphasis of the playoff contenders, the final 4 contenders, in that first race to get that bonus point for a lap led. So far in this one, the only driver that has led a lap is that 00, Kelly Causey. Been out in front 6 times. Greg Lovell, Denny Carroll still have not gotten the lap-led bonus point.
I think those lap-led bonus points might play a factor here, too, if the 00 ends up finishing as close to the 8 as he is right now. Again, that win at Daytona, massive cushion for Greg Lovell, but it's not a guarantee that you walk away with the championship, especially with how this race has been going. Look at how close he is, too, on the back of the 24 of Graham McDonald.
It's interesting if we go back to when Greg won here 2 weeks ago. He was at the time pushing the car that's behind him, Brian Lovell. Now, Brian wasn't certain that he could make it on fuel. He peeled to the apron here on the back straightaway on the final lap and let Greg on by. Greg said he was fully committed to just riding behind Brian pushing him to the win and finishing second to make certain that he advanced into what was then the round of 8. You gotta wonder if the situation is like this in the closing stages of the race. One would have to assume Greg would be more than satisfied to sit in that second spot with all the other playoff drivers behind him, giving him the finish that he needs to net the championship.
Yeah, I think if the race were to finish exactly like this, I think he is perfectly fine where he is. Again, he did say on the interview after Daytona, he said he was going to stay aggressive, but when you're in a situation like he is right now, you're kind of safely ahead of all of your other championship contenders. I don't think there's anything else you need to do that's too crazy.
We do have one elephant in the room we have to address, and that is what they're going to be passing by here in just a few moments. Right there, that entrance to pit road. They're going to have to start thinking about that sooner rather than later. If the math is correct, they're going to have to be on pit road somewhere between laps 25 to 27, which would put them about 12 to 14 laps away from the finish, right on the window to be able to make it on one more pit stop. Saw a couple of drivers, albeit non-playoff drivers, get speeding penalties during the green flag cycle at Daytona. Money stop going to be coming up here for these 3 championship hopefuls. We talk all the time about the word execution. It's going to have to be perfect for Greg Lovell to be able to defend the championship. It's going to have to be perfect for Kelly Causey and Denny Carroll to try and capitalize on track position and wrestle this points lead, this championship title away from the 8.
The 8 car might have backed off just a little bit. I think he realized, to Greg, that he was getting a little too aggressive on pushing Graham McDonald there. And I mean, if he gets a little bit more aggressive than he needs to, bumper grab could be a factor. So I think he kind of realized that, backed off ever so slightly.
Bad news for Robert Spring in the 74. We saw him sustain some pretty good front end damage. The hood buckled up when he got into Kelly Causey in the tri-oval, bringing out our second caution of the night. Looks like that has affected his car aerodynamically. He was not able to stay latched on to the draft of this lead pack. Currently 11 seconds and growing behind this pack here. He will undoubtedly fall a lap down if we continue to trend green,
look at that.
running single car himself.
We had a lap bonus point for Kelly Causey. He led that last lap.
So that's his 7th lap led. And you know why that's important? Because Graham McDonald, the previous lap, had tied him for most laps led. So he just got the tiebreaker back for the bonus point for most laps led.
He's going to go to the lead of the race, too.
Gets the push from Robert Breedlove and Ken Roberts. Oh, we got a car on the apron back there. That was Gary Heiser. Not sure what was happening with the 3. As he was almost all the way down to that red inside retaining wall. He gathers it up. Whatever happened, it appears to have checked up this trio of drivers, including playoff contender Denny Carroll.
Yeah, Denny Carroll might be pretty frustrated about that, but I think what might have happened, obviously we didn't see it, but he probably just had a little bit of a moment and decided to go low, get out of everybody's way.
Pat McCarskey and our runner-up from Daytona, Nate Balser, back here. Now, it looks like maybe they might be okay. If these guys up here continue to race double file, Denny Carroll should be within striking distance to be able to latch onto the draft of the 6. And in turn, the 97 and the 79 should be able to also get the draft here. We'll keep tabs on this.
I think Kelly Causey at the front has worked his way to the bottom of the race. Yeah, he has, so he's in a pretty good spot right now.
And he's down there because these drivers are about 2 to 4 laps away from having to consider coming to pit road. I think Gary Heiser might have actually just pit, as he'll stay down to the apron here for the race leaders. Not required to go down there to the apron. You are allowed to merge up in 1 and 2, just as long as the communication is there to those race leaders. But I'm seeing some radios lighting up. I think we're going to have some drivers making the dive onto pit lane here. This is going to be right on the window, right on the mark. And we ended up having some drivers scared of running out of fuel here a couple of weeks ago. Could be some tender hooks for drivers on this one. It's a bunch of them coming in. Oh, there we go. Robert Breedlove's around. Randy Wong, Ken Roberts up the racetrack. Is this going to bring out a yellow? Yes, it is. Caution is going to come out. Tim Anderson's backwards there on pit road as well as he slides out into the grass.
We had cars sideways on the racing surface above the yellow line, so I think that's what's going to bring out the yellow flag there. But that's just interesting timing, to say the least.
Andrew Miller is going to be the race leader here. Now, obviously, he'll probably come to pit road, as will the other 4 drivers that stayed out, Carroll, McCarthy, and Rawson. The big question is going to be for a number of these race leaders, as it looks like Greg Lovell may have won the battle off of pit road, is did they make the commitment line before the caution came out? If they did, they can take service without the threat of a penalty. But if they were not yet to the commitment line and the caution waived, pit road is technically closed for them, and they're given a black flag EOL penalty for pitting under a closed pit road. So as we go back and look at this replay, we're going to have to also try and see if we can keep an eye on these caution lights around the racetrack, the timing that the yellow exactly gets thrown.
Yeah, we're going to have to pinpoint the moment of caution and then get an angle on pit road and see who was across the commitment line and who wasn't.
It's hard to tell from that angle if the 24 gets the 55 in the left rear or if the 21 gets him in the right rear. But regardless, both go spinning back up onto the racetrack. There is the 33 of Tim Anderson who has a moment. Pandemonium here at pit road entry. Robert Breedlove actually went around as well. Let's quickly just go to the chopper cam. It will give us the best idea of what happened with the 55.
Look at that hot pit attempt from the 8 car. I think that's what the 21 might have been doing too.
And that hot pit attempt from Greg Lovell is what puts him into the back of Robert Breedlove. Remember, we mentioned it, Robert Breedlove started this race from dead last, so he's got to slow up a lot more in preparation for his pit stall, which is closer to this end of the racetrack, the entrance of pit lane.
Still need to go back and find the exact moment of caution there too, because I just want to make absolutely certain that, or whether or not we're going to have any penalties.
I think the best way to do that is we'll focus on the pace car real quickly here. We'll wait and see the point that the yellow flag waves. So lights are on. We're going to put it right exactly at the moment that the lights turn on here, which is right there. So as we bring it back here to live, let's now go to the rear of the field. Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
There's a bunch that were just a ways behind it there.
Fortunately for the championship drivers, it looks like both the 00 and the 8 were across the line there, the commitment line there. But that's, what is it, like, I think 8 off the top of my head drivers that did not make it to the commitment line before the lights turned on.
Yeah, I would say Sullen's there in the 38. He's just across. So too is Man Gilardi. But that's John Godfrey, Tim Anderson, Greg Palmer, Dan Lovell, Mark Paglia, Garland Oakes, Keith Bynum, and Nate Balser, who are all back behind the line at the time that that caution waved. So I don't know if they took service or if they passed through. Hopefully they passed down pit road, and it may be a bit of a moot point. It looks like a number of those drivers that we just named off are coming back down pit lane to top off the fuel tank. But boy, that's the danger of the timing of a yellow during green flag pit stops, is you kind of are second guessing yourself. Was I past the commitment line? Was I not past the commitment line? Should I take service? Should I just pass through? Sometimes the gamble is correct, sometimes the gamble is incorrect, and you lose track position. To your point, though, I guess the good news is that for our playoff contenders, none of them were under that threat of having to figure out if they had to make that gamble or not.
I mean, that can really upend your race and your mentality, too, if you're a playoff driver and you start panicking about that moment, especially with, it appears, Kelly Causey now in the race lead.
So I'm trying to see if there is a point in this race where Causey could lock up the most laps led bonus point without the threat of somebody else taking it from him. He just crossed the line to lead. I believe, I got to double check, I believe it was his 11th lap of the night. It could have been just his 10th. Waiting for scoring to update. Graham McDonald has led the second most at 6, so he's starting right behind Causey. Causey's not out of the woods yet in locking up the bonus point, but it certainly looks like for Kelly Causey, he's got about the same goal that we heard from Greg Lovell earlier, and that's get to the front, stay at the front, just try and maximize the night. You can't control what's happening behind you. You can't control where the 41 is. You can't control where the 8 is. But control what is within your power to control. Get at the front and try and keep them in the rearview mirror here. Treat this in a way as a must-win situation.
Absolutely. Do everything you can. You know that you're fighting for this championship. And looking at Greg Lovell right now, he's behind. He's a decent amount of positions behind Causey here. So I feel like this thing is obviously far from over here.
See Pat McCarskey and Gary Heiser up there on the top side. They're the Lucky Dogs. First time we've had to use Lucky Dogs here tonight. We didn't need them at Daytona. We didn't need them prior to this one at Primetime Super Speedway, but the green flag pit stop certainly shuffled things up for us to need them. They'll both go around, get their laps back, and that will put us with 23 of our remaining 24 drivers on the same lap as leader Kelly Causey. And how about this? A 10-lap shootout to decide the final race of the season and determine the Season 5 Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series champion.
Been a really fun battle to see how this has played out. Obviously, I was here last week as well. That was my first week calling the action here in this series, and now getting to see how things play out in the finale.
See the drivers, the cars bogging down there as they're throwing in the clutch-saving fuel. They're good to make it the rest of the way. They could make it from the green flag to lap 43 or 42 if they were able to go the full distance on what they've got in the tank. I think this is just purely out of habit right now. Maybe a little muscle memory with throwing in the clutch, but everybody should be good to make it the rest of the way. Our 3 championship hopefuls have not been able to shake each other in this race or in the previous one at Daytona. As Causey will restart the leader, Denny Carroll will be 5th, Greg Lovell in 8th, Ken Roberts there as well. One of our final 4 competitors going to restart in 7th as he looks to get his 3rd win of the playoffs. You talk about the non-playoff contenders. Brian Lovell going to start this race from the outside of the front row. Graham McDonald, who finished runner-up here 1 week ago, in 3rd. Robert Breedlove currently in 4th. Andrew Miller behind him in 6th. And then in that 5th row, completing the top 10, Greg Palmer and Dan Lovell. 10 laps to decide the season, decide the champion. Who will it be? Could be the most nerve-wracking 10 laps for these drivers for the entirety of the 29 previous races that they have run. Kelly Causey going to bring us down to green. How about this? The driver that he edged out for the victory last week is going to be his wingman as we've got trouble here crossing the start-finish line.
I think we're going to have to hold our breath for just a little bit longer. I think we'll have the race back to the line, I'm pretty sure, but
that was Rodney Sullins I saw sideways there on the start-finish line. Some restart issues. To your point, though, we are racing back to the stripe here. Causey going to try and cover both lanes. Whoa, where is Graham going?
Oh, boy.
Onto the apron. They're going to split 3 wide because of it. Denny Carroll will move around the outside.
Oh, be careful, Graham. My goodness.
And Brian Lovell may end up edging out Kelly Causey to come around and lead this race. He will do so. The Pontiac Trans Am is going to bring us back to the caution. We will get back green, but it'll be interesting to see just how many laps we'll have left to settle this thing out with.
I mean, just like that one little slip up from Graham McDonald really, I think it kind of shifted the whole running order there. Is you see the
Whoa!
67 gets a little bit loose and goes for a little bit of a spin.
Garland Oaks. Looks like he was trying to whoa up for Graham McDonald in front of him. Got loose. Goes for a little loop there out of turn 2. Looks like this, our 4th caution of the race, due in part to potential issue on the restart. 38 of Rodney Sullins was the driver I saw facing the wrong way right across the start-finish line. Let's see if it starts with him. Brian Rawson right behind him, and oh wow, trying to anticipate the green. Rawson giving Sullins a shove into the car in front of him, and it just starts stacking up.
At that point, nothing you can do. It looked like the 3 car almost came to a complete stop trying to make sure that he was safe in that madness.
Watch this again here. I don't know if the green was a little late. Oh, it looked like Garland Oaks backed off a bit there just before they were going green. That kind of checked them up too. Nate Balzer lifted, and that put the 38 right on his bumper and the 6 on the 38's bumper.
Well, add another wrinkle to this championship decider here.
And if these drivers weren't good to make it on fuel before, they certainly are now with the aid of these caution laps. But for Kelly Causey, a bit of good news, a bit of bad news. The good news right now is with Graham McDonald having that issue and drifting back, it's unlikely he's going to get up here in time to be able to lead another 6 laps. So Causey, I believe now, with the scenario of who is running where, has not only the bonus point for a lap led, but has secured the bonus point for most laps led, 12 circuits out in front. The bad news for him is he's not going to be the control car on this restart like he was on the previous restart. Brian Lovell was able to edge him out coming back to the caution, so the 44 will actually be the control car here for this restart. And with where Greg Lovell is currently running, currently in the 9th position, Kelly Causey needs to win this race to mathematically have a shot of taking the title.
I think he's got the car to do it. I mean, we saw the way he was able to take the lead, basically rip the lead away on the middle lane. He got a big run there, and he got a couple more lap-led bonus points. So, I feel like that 00 is going to try and stay as aggressive as he possibly can.
Ready for this? If the race had ended coming to that caution, we would have had a tie for the points lead.
Oh my goodness. How does that even get settled?
I honestly have no idea. Causey is 2nd. Lovell is 9th. There'd been 7 positions difference between them, 7 points. Causey has a bonus point for a lap led and most laps led. Lovell has not led a lap. So that'd be the 2 bonus points with the 7 position points. That's the 9-point gap between the two.
Well, this is only my 3rd broadcast here with PRL in any capacity, but if I had to take a guess, I would imagine that if there was a tie, then it would probably go to whoever had more race wins this season, although I'm not totally sure about that.
Or maybe with Lovell having a win here in this final round. I don't know if like the performance in the round is what makes the difference. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they deal with the tiebreakers for a championship. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that kind of a scenario. If Causey gets 1 position better, or if Lovell loses 1 position here on this restart, then that would obviously make a difference. Or if Lovell is able to gain 1 more position here, then that would put him ahead of Causey. So, this one's going to be interesting. Right now, Kelly Causey is doing everything in his power. He's been able to restart on the front row the last couple of restarts. He's got the most laps led locked up. He's the only one of the championship 4 drivers that has led a lap here tonight. Denny Carroll going to be right behind him there in 4th. The ball is in the court of Greg Lovell right now. There's no really further forward Kelly Causey can go except the race win. Greg Lovell's got to pick up 2 or 3 spots here to make sure Causey does not make it close for this title.
And this is where you start to wonder, do you see those drivers maybe start to get a little bit more aggressive, knowing that those moves are going to be for determining a championship? Obviously, you have it in the back of your mind that you want to finish the race with a clean car. I mean, we talked about the Schumacher quote last week. To finish first you must finish. But at the same time, you want to try and win the race. You want to try and do everything you can to make sure you have that championship opportunity.
We finished the Daytona race under green. I will be surprised if we finish this Primetime Superspeedway race under green flag conditions. I feel that this race may end slightly early under caution because there's so many different variables. You've got these 3 drivers that are battling for the championship. You've got all these other drivers here that want to close out the season with a victory. You're going to have people back there mid-pack rear of the field. They're not going to want to wait. We're going to see a third line form, I think, as soon as we exit out of turn 2. These drivers are not going to want to be riding back there, biding their time. They got to go now if they're going to have a shot at this victory, if they're going to gain track position. With that being said, I think that it's going to be really close quarter racing here. Nobody's going to be willing to give an inch. There's going to be a lot more take than there is give, and I think you're going to see a lot of hefty blocks get thrown here as well, specifically by the championship drivers as they try to preserve where they're currently at in the running order.
I'm going to be honest, that concerns me a little bit when it comes to the restart, too, because we saw the last caution come out due to a little bit of pandemonium on that restart. Some drivers maybe weren't as ready as others were, and that led to some cars going around.
If I'm that 8 right now, I'm saying to everybody in my line, give me some space. Please do not anticipate the restart and give me a shove.
I think everybody should be saying that. At least make it through 1 and 2 clean.
Matt McIntyre in our chat says, Pontiac out in front as it should be. I knew if he was tuned in, he was going to be happy to see the Pontiac arrow out in front leading this race. Brian Lovell looking to close out the season with the final checkered flag of Season 5. Kelly Causey looking to win a championship. Again, remember, too, if Causey can win this race, that's bonus points that would be calculated into the gap between him and Greg Lovell. Robert Breedlove trying to start last, finish first. Restarts in 3rd. Denny Carroll, 13 points back. He's must-win situation, but the drivers he's battling are up here with him. He's 4th, and Andrew Miller, who started 22nd now, going to complete the top 5. We're going to have 5 laps to go to settle out the season finale here at Primetime Superspeedway. Can we run these 5 laps under green? We'll find out. Flagman's got the green flag in the air. We're going to make it to turn 1 at least.
Oh, one car getting a little bit high up the racetrack. It looks like they're able to keep things under control.
The middle line broke up a bit there. Now trying to get organized again. Look at Breedlove with the slingshot up to the outside in front of Kelly Causey. He's going for the race lead.
What are you willing to do to win a championship? That's the question we're going to see answered right here within these final 5 laps.
No help for Dan Lovell in that 3rd lane. He's going backwards. Greg Lovell has worked his way up on the inside. He's around the 8th position. That'd be enough for him to get the championship. Look at the movement, the side to side, though, bobbing and weaving here at the front as Breedlove will edge out Lovell here for 4 laps to go.
Especially at the bottom, too. The bottom, it really felt like there was a lot of bobbing and weaving, and if anybody hits the apron, that's disaster.
Right now, Greg Lovell's in a really good spot with Causey Myers on 2nd on that outside. Denny Carroll 3rd on the outside line as well.
I think we had a little bit of a bump there between the 2 leaders.
Trading paint for the race lead here. Brian Lovell's got Andrew Miller for drafting help. Breedlove and Causey trying to get something going on the top. Breedlove led the last lap. Looks like maybe Brian Lovell may edge him out this time, or can Breedlove get another run through the trial? We're going to be close contact!
Oh!
Caution's out, but the question is, did we take it or are we racing back? Everyone's in it!
Everybody's in it.
Everyone!
That's a huge one.
Now the question is, did we cross the line before the caution came out, or did the caution come out after we crossed the stripe?
I don't see the pace car.
I don't either. The pace car's lights are on. I think we're racing back.
Yeah, we're racing back. That's going to put
And Mark
Paglia
Paglia
in
is
the
the
lead.
leader.
That's going to put Denny Carroll in second. Both of the other championship drivers were involved in that crash. I mean, that just throws everything into complete disarray.
Now it's the race back to the stripe. Who's going to get there? Paglia, I believe, is going to win this race. He was able to get through the wreck. He's bringing it around.
Oh, to be a fly in the wall. Oh, the 41's going to get by him.
Now the 41's going by him. I'm not sure what exactly is going on here. 28 is parking it. I'm almost wondering if the caution did come out before they crossed the stripe, and they're letting the 28 know, hey, you got to give those spots back before you cross the line, or else you're going to get a penalty. Again, kind of like when the caution came out during the green flag pit stops, we were like, well, who was past the commitment line to pit road and who was behind it? Kind of the same deal here. I'm sure some drivers are being told race back. Other drivers may have been told that the caution was out.
To finish that sentence from a minute ago, oh, to be a fly on the wall in the TeamSpeak room right now and see what's going on in that chat. I mean, this is madness.
This is a league admin's nightmare. I can tell you that firsthand. So Denny Carroll has scored the leader. Where are the other playoff contenders? Looks like Greg Lovell is scored in 10th. Kelly Causey is 12th. Oh, man, I don't know.
If Denny Carroll wins this race too, that's a bonus point, or that's bonus points for him as well. I almost wonder maybe he might not be out of this after all.
I got to do some digging. I got to quickly look here and see how many bonus points you get for winning the race. I don't know if it's 5 or if it's 3. If it is 3, then right now, with Greg finishing in 10th, that would put them tied, if I'm not mistaken. Though, oh wait, hold on. Denny led a lap there. So that's another bonus point. So
yeah,
he
did.
It could be Denny by 1 point. Now, if it's 5 bonus points for winning the race, there's no question. Denny Carroll's won this title.
I can't believe that's how this is going to end.
We are going to look back at replays here in just a few moments, but we are going to stay here with the leaders. They've taken the white flag. Next flag will end the race with the caution. We're doing a little bit of detective reasoning here as to who potentially is going to end up being this champion, just based off of prior race results. I'm going to check here on the previous race.
I'm stunned.
I'm trying to find a race where the driver that... Okay, so here we go. So Greg Lovell, if we use Greg Lovell as a template from the last race, did not lead the most laps, but led a lap and won the race. He got 41 points total. 10th place, that does not lead any laps, gets 27 points. That is a difference of 14 points. Denny came in 13 points out of the championship lead. He's going to, by 1 point, if my math is correct, take the championship here in Season 5.
That is unbelievable. I mean, we were talking basically all race long about how it was essentially, or at least during the final few portions of this race, it was going to come down to either it was either going to be names are slipping for me, Greg Lovell or Kelly Causey. It felt like those two were the ones that would ultimately decide what would happen. And at the end of the day, they both get taken out in a massive crash with only a few laps to go. And that's going to decide the championship by 1 point for Denny Carroll, who basically won the title by staying clean at the end of it all.
Oh, hold the phone.
Did we speak too soon?
We might have. Now, I'm not certain if maybe some post-race EOLs and stuff came into play, but they are now scoring Greg Lovell crossing the line in 6th. I don't know where he gained those positions from, as he was scored 10th the previous lap. We'll try and figure this out here. Denny Carroll going to come around and do some burnouts here on the front straightaway. We at least know that he has won this race. The championship now is still up for debate. We'll go back, we'll take a look at a replay, we'll try and see if we can figure out everything here. Now the scoring showing, or no, I'm sorry, it's still showing him in 6th. We're going to have to figure this one out because it could be a lot of where drivers had not yet given spots back at the timing of the yellow. I don't know for certain what the scenario was here. Was it a case that field was frozen because the caution came out when only a couple of drivers had already crossed the start-finish line? Or was it race back for some and frozen field for others? I'm not 100% certain. So let's go first to the wreck that brings out the race-ending yellow. This is going to be a lot to have to go through and figure out for the league admins here.
Like you said, league admin's nightmare.
Like Causey might have bumper grabbed Robert Breedlove, and just look at this. Wow, popped up into the air, did a wheelie there. Did Kelly Causey. And as we said, that was the whole field. There were maybe 2-3 drivers that got through that whole thing.
And the fact that the 41 of Denny Carroll got through it all is why he's in the conversation for this championship right now. The fact that he was third in line here on the top?
Yeah.
And he managed just barely to stay out of this trouble.
He wasn't. He was in it.
Yeah, I know, he wasn't clear.
He got slammed by the 931 and kept going. The fact that car didn't even spin out. He got completely shoulder blocked by Breedlove.
If he didn't keep going there, then he's not even in the conversation for this, and this is probably decided by now, but with everybody being caught up in that route, I mean, that just completely changes the complexion of things.
There's Greg Lovell getting involved as he gets sent down to the inside wall.
That's a hard lick.
Follow-up contact with John Godfrey. And at this point, it's grab a gear and just keep going. Godfrey went up and over there. Fortunately, he landed back on all 4 wheels. Let's get some more shots. Maybe the most important shot of the night here, as it could have ramifications as to who's taking this championship. Watch this onboard with Denny Carroll. Right there, the car's wrecked.
Oh.
Right there, the car is wrecked. How it was able to straighten itself back out is anybody's guess.
I need to see it again, but I think he took a bit of a hit from behind, but it was pushing his car back in the right direction, and he just barely managed to stabilize it. I mean, with that big hit head on, I don't know how he was able to just drive away like that at full speed.
You heard him downshift there. Grab a gear to try and reel in those other drivers ahead of him.
Yeah, that extra hit, those extra couple hits he took managed to stabilize his car. And then he kept it going back up the banking, which is a very steep transition from the apron to the banking.
So here's the thing that we got to look at, because again, it comes down to timing. With the timing of the yellow, different drivers are going to get told different information. I believe at this point, the caution would already be out. Oh, no, surprisingly, it wasn't. All right, right here, the caution lights have come on. Let's see who's across the line and who is not. So you see there's Dennis McCarthy. Everyone ahead would have been told, race back to the stripe. Though granted, most everybody in this wreck would have ended up, or everybody past the start-finish line would have gotten caught up in the wreck. From, I believe, Garland Oaks on back, they would have been told, hey, the caution is out, field is frozen. You know, wait for the pace car to pick you up. So with different drivers getting different information is what's going to make things interesting. Now let's double check here. I want to check here. This is Greg Lovell. He crossed the line in 8th. This was coming to 3 laps to go. Coming around here to 2 laps to go, he scored 10th. He crosses the line, still scored in 10th. Come back to the white flag, he's in 11th.
So he lost a position.
He lost a position, which says to me that maybe some of these drivers got black flagged or something. Let's see what happens here on this final lap.
I'm also confused why Paglia had to stop at the end, too.
Who was that just went off the racetrack there? That was Brian Lovell. Brian was behind Greg in the running order, so that would not have given Greg an extra position. I think some cars might have gotten... Oh, no, now Greg pulls up and takes some spots there. I'm not sure what's going on, I'll be honest with you.
This is a mystery wrapped in an enigma, or is it the other way around?
All right, so while we're trying to scratch our heads, I have been apparently given the updated points, so we're going to know who the champion is. We'll document that here in a minute. Let's at least give what we know right here, and that's the finishing results. Denny Carroll is the winner of the race. We're still waiting to see if he's the champion. Mark Paglia will finish in 2nd. Somehow Graham McDonald crossed the line in 3rd. That car was all sorts of crunched up. Greg Palmer will be 4th. 5th place, Robert Breedlove. Greg Lovell in 6th. Pat McCarskey 7th. Then Brian Ross and Gary Heiser and Robert Spring, who was a lap down. I think Heiser was a lap down earlier as well as Pat McCarskey. They're all going to net top 10 finishes. Ken Roberts will finish in 13th, and Kelly Causey finishes in 19th. So I think it's safe to say that those two, obviously Roberts was mathematically eligible, but a 19th place for Causey, that I think is going to take him out of the hunt for the championship. Now is the question, is it going to be Denny Carroll with the win or Greg Lovell, who finishes, it says here, in 6th? The answer to the question is, we don't know. The standings I was sent are from the conclusion of race 29 still. I'm going to try and see if I can maybe find an updated points graphic here. Yeah, we still don't have an updated points graphic. So we'll try and get that here in just a minute. But as we're trying to figure all that out, we'll go into
honestly, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we'll try and see if we can get an updated points graphic here in this post-race wind-down.
Yeah, speaking of the post-race wind-down, I honestly have no idea what I'm even going to ask people because that was insane. I mean, what is there to say? That was just an insane crash on that last lap.
That was a wild wreck. It wasn't even the final lap. It was the race ending yellow, but it started at the front, and just about everybody except for, it looked like 3 drivers were able to get through it. Well, we may be able to get a verbal confirmation on who the champion is, as one of the head admins of this series brought it home in the podium spot in 3rd place. So let's dial up driver Graham McDonald and maybe see if we also can get some information in regards to the championship.
User was moved to your channel.
Hey, Graham, it's the guys up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, podium finish here tonight. That car looked looked pretty beat up there in that final wreck, and you're still able to bring it home in the 3rd position. That was maybe one of the wildest wrecks we've seen in a long time. Obviously had championship implications, race win implications for drivers trying to close out the season with a checkered flag. How in the world you bring that thing home on the podium position here after everything we saw, that calamity through 1 and 2?
I have no idea, and I don't know if I'll even get to keep that spot, pending reviews. We'll have to do adjustments to the finishing order.
So I sent you the message here. The point standings thing you sent me still has it after race 29. It doesn't have the updated graphic for after race 30. We were trying to do the calculations here and everything. We were also trying to figure out, maybe you can explain for us. We saw that the 8 was 10th coming to 2 to go. He was 11th coming to the white flag, and he crossed the line to take the checkered flag in 6th position. So we're not exactly sure, where spotters were telling everybody to be and everything, so we weren't exactly sure in the calculations who was ahead of who.
Yeah, bring it up here. Well, right now I'm showing Greg Lovell as the lead, followed by Denny Carroll by 3 points behind. Kelly Kazi 20 points behind, and Ken Roberts 41 points behind.
Okay, so there's the confirmation we needed with Greg Lovell taking the championship. Obviously, incredible season. We've been treated to a little bit of everything. We had the photo finish last week. We've seen pit strategy. We've seen, obviously the green flag pit stops. If we talk about tonight's Daytona race, and then obviously the ability to be able to get through massive wrecks like tonight. Little bit of everything, all the aspects of super speedway racing came down to the nitty-gritty here tonight. An incredible season overall here with the playoff system and everything too. Obviously a great run to close it out from a driver's standpoint of view, but how's this got to be in terms of an admin as well, to see the type of racing that we've had here during the regular season, setting up the playoffs, and then here in the postseason as well?
Well, it's gone pretty smoothly till tonight. These cautions that happen at the start-finish line or that come out in the middle of pit stops are always chaotic.
Yeah, as a fellow league admin from previous years, I sympathize with you on that one. Those are tough to try and figure out and everything. Well, Graham, great run for you here tonight to close out the season. Some good numbers here at Primetime Super Speedway to close out the season. The second last week, 3rd place here tonight. Some good momentum as well for the 6th season here of the Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series. Congratulations on an overall great season and a good close here tonight with a podium finish at Primetime Super Speedway. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Well, thanks for FRN for broadcasting, and thanks to all the drivers that come out participate. Without them, none of this could happen. And I want to say hello or hi to my grandson. I'm going to make him watch this tomorrow, and he'll be so happy about that.
Well, Graham McDonald, 3rd place here tonight to close out Season 5 of the Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series. Congratulations on a great run. Thanks for the confirmation on the championship picture, and best of luck next season.
Yeah, thank you, and have a good night.
User was moved out of your
Kids,
channel.
be sure to thank your league admins. That was a massive mess to entangle. So props to Graham for being able to figure things out there for us.
Absolutely. We were going to dial up our 2nd place finisher, Mark Paglia, but it looks like he may have already left. Let me just double check on that here. Yeah, I do not see Mark Paglia in the TeamSpeak currently, so unfortunately we will not be able to get a word with him after bringing it home in the 2nd position. Let's dial up the driver that brings it home with the victory here tonight in the finale, though from what we heard, just short of the championship. Let's get a hold of Denny Carroll.
User was moved to your
Hey, Denny,
channel.
it's Jack and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, man, I'll tell you, first off, congratulations getting through that wreck. We ran on board with you, and there was at least twice that car was wrecked. You were able to keep it pointed straight, able to grab a gear, come back to the start-finish line, and take this checkered flag here tonight. How in the world did you manage to do that? Because it looked like everyone that was involved in that wreck was gonna, in some way, shape, or form, not be able to drive away from the incident without having to first try and get their car turned around. You were able to drive literally through it to be able to pick up the victory.
I had my eyes closed.
That's a perfect answer.
Well, I don't see how it didn't flip me over, but actually, Paglia should have won that. People was hollering, we took the caution, and I was telling Mark on Whisper to go, we didn't take it. And when he slowed down, I couldn't slow down that fast, so I just blew right by him. I mean, that was luck, pure luck.
Now, obviously, we were just told, we got confirmation that at least right now shows Greg Lovell 3 points in hand over you. Kind of going back in retrospect to Daytona, was there anything different you could have done to maybe just get a couple more positions, make this closer, maybe be able to edge Greg out for the championship? Because literally here at Primetime Super Speedway, you did everything that was possible, being able to get through that wreck, got the bonus point for the lap led, and got the max points for winning the race.
Yeah, well, the Daytona race, I tried over half the race. I kept Greg from leading the lap and getting a point. And then when they all got together almost there at the end, he finally got him some and pulled it out and won it. But I mean, I tried that whole race to keep him from getting a point. And the championship thing might change when the penalties are handed out.
Yeah, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on that here as well. We'll talk about your season overall, too. I mean, you now become the 6th playoff driver to win a playoff race, so 6 for 6 on playoff contenders, sweeping these races in the postseason. Your 3rd trip to victory lane here as well. Solid overall season. We talked about you being really consistent back in the 2nd round of the playoffs last week as well. We always talk about race wins. They always help, but consistency wins championships. You've had a little bit of both here in Season 5.
Yeah, one of my biggest problems is on these super speedways, I work with Randy a lot, and, I work with Rodney and them a lot when I can, but, those RTG guys stick together, and then the levels all stick together, and that kind of puts me at a disadvantage because I really don't have any teammates except for Randy. It's hard for one car to beat 8.
I understand that. Well, put up a good fight this entire season. You did. You bring it home tonight in victory lane. Your 3rd victory on the season. Again, as you said, got to kind of wait for the post-race potential penalties and everything. Could play a difference into the championship, but for right now, it shows you 3 points back. Still, solid season. Close it out big time with a checkered flag in thrilling fashion, getting through that massive wreck here in the closing stages. We'll let you get back to your celebrating here in victory lane in a moment, Denny, but first, we're going to hand it over to you for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
All right, thanks, Seth. I'm going to be putting a team together for next season, so anybody that might want to join one, just holler at me on Messenger. I just thank everybody for watching, and that win was pure luck, but I guess you got to take them as you get them.
Hey, a lot of times we say super speedway racing, there's skill involved, but there's a little bit of luck involved as well, and you ended up exemplifying both here in the closing stage. This one, congratulations on the victory here tonight, Denny, and a solid season overall.
Thanks, Seth. You guys were up. Thanks to PRL for racing, and Graham. He does a really good job, and I love racing here, and I like racing at RTG too. Those guys are awesome over there, and just thanks for the broadcast. I can't wait to go watch it.
That's Denny Carroll. He's celebrating in victory lane here tonight in the season finale of the Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series. Congratulations once again on the victory.
Later, guys.
User was moved out of your
Now
channel.
we talked to him in race victory lane after Daytona. We now talk to him in champions victory lane here after Primetime Super Speedway Series. Let's talk with Greg Lovell.
User was moved to your
Hey, Greg,
channel.
it's Seth and Jack up here in the FRM booth once again. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, First off, congratulations. According to the point standings, 3 points the gap between yourself and Denny Carroll. You, sir, are the Season 5 PRL Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series champion, but what an interesting way to be able to win it from the, I won't say easy, but relatively calm, I guess we could say, way of winning at Daytona to the absolute chaos that was that final wreck here at Primetime. Walk me through all of that, because with where we were looking at, you scored originally in 11th. We ended up having it 1 point to the 41. We then see you cross the line in 10th the following lap, which puts you guys tied by the rough math. Then you cross the line to take the checkered flag in 6th, which gave you that 3-point advantage. What was all the communication with Spotter, with the admins, with everything going on there, with where you had to be?
I don't know, man. My spotter kept telling me to line up in front of the 931 for some reason. I don't know why. It didn't make any sense to me, to be honest with you. So they might have to go back and look at it, and if they have to move me back, then it'll be, either be a tie, and I don't know what they do about ties. I don't know if they go by the best average finish for the year or the most wins for the year. I don't know how they do that, but I don't know. But my spotter told me to line up in front of Breedlove, and I was like, oh, well, I don't understand that. Which this game does some weird stuff sometimes. Because every time I would let him pass me, it kept telling me to go back around him, and I was like, well, that don't make any sense. I don't know, man.
Yeah, we always see when those cautions come out right when the leaders are getting ready for a restart.
Yeah.
Half the field past the start finish line, half the field still behind the start finish line. It makes things a little bit murky in terms of where drivers need to be. Obviously, something that the administration will have to sort out. Going to that big wreck, though, I believe you were either the third or the fourth car on that inside line. Was there nothing you could do in that situation to be able to get through it? Obviously, right up there in the vicinity where that wreck broke out, or kind of in retrospect, would there maybe have been anything you could have done different to be able to sneak your way through that massive wreck?
No, I think the 44 and the 931 hit, which knocked Breedlove down into Denny, the 41, which knocked the 41 down into me, and knocked me off of the track. So I was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all.
We ended up seeing you, I think you restarted that final restart fourth on the inside line. You said to us when we talked to you after the Daytona race, my goal is to still be aggressive, get to the front, stay at the front. It looked like, at least where you were at in relation to the other playoff contenders, specifically the 00 and the 41, like you were pretty committed to staying there on the inside line, and looking like with neither one of them at that point out in front, like you were going to be able to take the championship. Was that the goal? Just kind of hug the bottom and hope that inside line was going to be moving more than the outside line?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping to stay down there in a third line for him with about 3 to go, so the bottom would take off. But that caution come out, and it just never did happen because of that caution. I mean, it's very possible that it could have happened. I mean, a third lane could have possibly formed. It probably would have with 2 to go. And that bottom line would have just went. But I don't know. So if you know how this game is, man, you just don't know what's going to happen from one lap to the next.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, we've been told, at least unofficially at this point in time, that you are the champion, so we will congratulate you as such. Solid season you were able to put together. Of course, that trip to victory lane to set up the opportunity to win the title here earlier on tonight at Daytona. Congratulations on a well-done season here. I know you mentioned some ups and downs during the regular season, but really solid postseason here in the playoffs. We'll now give you the opportunity for some championship. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, whatever happens, Seth, I'm fine with it. I mean, if I get a penalty for something, or if I finish worse than it says I did, I don't. I'm I'm just here to have fun and and enjoy being friends with you know people, and uh that's the most important thing about it to me. The game's just a extra bonus. You know, but I'd like to give a shout out to Graham and his uh his team for helping me tonight, and I'd like to give a shout out to my buddy Nate. I've known Nate for probably 20 years. We know each other really well, and he's a real good friend of mine, and uh, we always help each other if we can. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Keith Bynum for the server. He keeps it up and going and pays for it, and uh, Graham does a good job on these Friday, Saturday night races, and uh, we got Sunday night. We got a Sunday night race coming up tomorrow night. The um, Spartan Series race tomorrow night at Iowa. So if anybody wants to come out and race tomorrow night, but I think that's about it. I appreciate you guys, Seth and Jack, for coming over here and doing this for us. I'll go back and watch the races later, maybe tomorrow or something. I'm kind of sick still, so I'm still trying to get over his sickness.
Hope you feel better, Greg. Congratulations on the victory earlier on tonight at Daytona, and for currently being scored as the champion here in Season 5 of the PRL Saturday Night Shootout Super Speedway Series. Job well done here this season, and congratulations on picking up another race victory and a championship title.
Yeah, that might change, so be on the lookout.
All right, we will do so, but that's our unofficial word at least here to
User was moved
close
out of
out
your
the
channel.
night. 3 points the difference, but yeah, sounds like a lot of due diligence going to have to take place here as far as the administration team and the post-race review and everything. But whatever the case may be, whatever the end result may be, the fact that tonight's championship is ultimately going to come down to an element of survival, one of the things that we always emphasize when it comes to super speedway racing. It just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of seems fitting that a super speedway series ends up being the question of who got through the wreck the best.
Exactly. I mean, we talk about survival all the time at these super speedway races. You really just have to keep your car clean. Like again, I'm going to bring up the Schumacher quote, to finish first you must finish. And I feel like that really can be the make or break difference in a lot of these races as we saw here tonight. So I guess we'll see how things play out. But nevertheless, the fact, like you said, the fact that the championship was that close too is insane.
Incredible way to close out the night. Denny Carroll picking up his third win on the season. Greg Lovell unofficially the champion of the Saturday Night Shootout Series. And also, those two drivers, 2 of 6 that made every single start here this season. 30 races in total, and reaping rewards here at the close of the season. Well, thank you all for tuning into our coverage here tonight. Again, if you want to keep track of who the official champion potentially is going to be, you can check the Primetime Racing Series website, which is Primetime's series, Primetime SS Series www.neocities.org. You can go over there. They've got all the information of their respective weekly series, as well as their schedule, their race winners, and their point standings, so you can keep track of all of that. If you're interested in running in Primetime Racing League as well, you can get all the information you need there to be able to run with these drivers on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday nights. As you heard there from Greg, they'll be running at Iowa in the Sunday Spartan Series tomorrow evening. So if you're looking for a league to race in, you can come on out and race with Primetime Racing League. Jack, it's been a wild 3 weeks here in the playoffs for this series. We've seen a little bit of everything that Super Speedway Racing brings to the table. A thrilling finish here tonight. I want to thank you for joining me up here in the booth.
Absolutely. I want to send a shout out to PRL and also you as well, Seth, for allowing me to do this. This is something that I've been wanting to get into a lot more of this sim racing commentary. So I've been really happy to have the opportunity to do so these last couple of weeks. And hopefully we have a lot more opportunities to do this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you all for tuning to our coverage here tonight for the Primetime Racing League's Saturday night Shootout Super Speedway Series. Greg Lovell is the Season 5 champion here tonight. Until the next time we see you, which will be Wednesday night for the Esports Oval League's Grind Cup Series under the lights at Iowa at 9 p.m. Standard Time. For Jack Mitchell, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of, well, if you're on the East Coast, your Sunday morning. If you're on any of the other time zones, the remainder of your Saturday evening, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's